Forest Farm. Bigfoot the Shy Boy again. Today, we're cooking hamburger. He doesn't know yet.
Pro tip, always cook over hot coals, not open flames, unless you want your burger to taste like burnt marshmallows. Trust me, I've learned the hard way.
Season it up, salt, pepper, and a little bit of whatever I found in my backpack. 2 minutes each side. I like my burgers just under medium. Before the cheese goes on.
Just over medium, not under medium.
And
looks
now,
good though.
The magic trick. Lid on, cheese melting, and voila. Just like that, we turn a regular burger into a masterpiece. All right, this time to serve these up to my friend. I know what you guys are thinking. Don't worry, he's got good taste.
Forest Farm. Bigfoot the Shy Boy again.
So what's up, boys and girls? What's up? How are we doing? How are we doing tonight? Yes. We got some Gorilla Glue Birth Control Challenge. Yeah, that would be crazy, wouldn't it, Flex? So we got some Ireland popping off tonight. Whoa, I didn't see anything going on in Ireland. I'll have to check that out. I saw some stuff going on in England, but there's some other stuff popping off. I had my stories all lined up, and then there was something that happened. So there's the first story of the night is going to be an emergency breaking news type of thing that just happened a couple hours ago. But if you have something in Australia or Ireland you want me to look at, let me know, and I'll get right on it. So we do have this. But first, we're going to say hello to everybody tonight. I forgot. We got JD, how you doing? Death Angel Shadow, how you doing? None of your business. Hello, Mika, Mr. K, Ellie4, Flexed, how you doing? James. Yeah, I think those are really hilarious too. I'm really a big fan of the Sasquatches and the Bigfoots. Catherine K, how you doing? Marjorie Smith, how we doing tonight? So I was gonna do a goal tonight, and then I said, screw it, I won't do a goal. We're just gonna do a show, and I'll go until I get tired, and then I'll stop. So Saturday night, let's see where we lead to. So first story this evening tonight. Hey Sharon, how you doing? First story to John Mosley, how you doing? First story of the evening is from Dapper Detective Scott. Breaking news, a mass stabbing. At least 11 people have been viciously stabbed at a Walmart, Traverse City, Michigan. Police have a suspect in custody, but have not released the identity.
We are following breaking news out of Traverse City, Michigan tonight, where authorities say multiple people have been stabbed at a Walmart there. We also know at this hour that a suspect is in custody. Michigan State Police say that a local sheriff's office is investigating this incident. MSP sending troopers to that scene as we speak. asking people to avoid this area while that investigation is ongoing. The Associated Press reports that a Walmart corporate spokesperson says the company right now is working with police, deferring all questions to them at this hour. We are following breaking news out of Traverse City.
Yeah, that's crazy. Oh, hey, Critter Sitter, how you doing? Mika, what's new? Saturday night and you ain't got no money. I think that's a song, isn't it? Yeah, it was a call to stab. Yeah, call to prayer, probably. It's what's this? RUSA, Costa Rica expat. How you doing? And howdy. How do you do? We'll call magic. How's new? Yeah, so many crazies everywhere you go. It is. It's like that. It's everywhere you go. So, we got this. The first images have been released of the suspect in a mass stabbing at the Walmart in Grand Traverse County, Michigan, which has left 11 victims. It appears police quietly rushed him into their cruiser. So this is the police, and that's the guy. And I can't tell if that's a camouflage top and blue. I mean, it looks like blue jeans. I don't know. His neck looks a little brown, maybe? Oh, maybe Muslim, maybe Arabic, maybe Hispanic. I don't know, but I have to see. Since you heard a name and it sounded vaguely Polish. Yes. Hello, Lynn. Yes, they're going crazy at Walmart, slashing prices. They're really literally slashing them. You're getting commercials every 4 minutes? Seriously? Hold on. Let me fix it. You shouldn't be getting any commercials now. I don't know why they do that. They automatically put them on when I start the stream, and I have to go in and shut them off. Could be Ukrainian. Well, it's possible. Maybe it could be Ukrainian. But I mean, the whole thing with a mass stabbing thing, that sounds more like cartelish or, machete attacks. Well, I don't know. Especially in Michigan, it's not like they can't get guns. Hey, Sunshine, how are we doing tonight? I mean, I guess. Oh, you're welcome, Tomes. How you doing? I guess. I mean, it could be. Well, we'll just wait and see. I don't have it now. I'm just saying the guy, his neck looked darker than I would think a Michigander would look. But most Michiganders are kind of pale looking. But whatever. So we have this. We have from the National Association for Gun Rights, NAGR. They're called NAGR, NAGR. They're actually a good organization. Decent. I should say good. I don't know. Mass stabbing has occurred at Traverse City Walmart putting 11 victims in the hospital. Several are in surgery. Gun control does not stop mass casualties events. It only changes the tools and the methods. However, an armed citizen would have stopped this. Yes. One armed citizen inside of the Walmart there could have stopped all of this. At least some people were stabbed, people in custody. Always carry. Yes. I suggest everyone to join the ABA, and by ABA, I don't mean the American Bar Association. I mean the Always Be Armed Association. Mm-hmm. 11 people are injured in a knife attack at a Walmart in Michigan. Officials say one person was in custody after the authorities said a random attack near the Traverse City, Michigan store. Oh, the one with the two college girls? Oh, you're talking about the one was. I think you're talking about the guy. Reports say there was a black guy there with a gun. He was going to open fire, but a Walmart employee stopped him. I'd have told the Walmart. That's ridiculous. If that happened, if a Walmart employee stopped somebody from engaging with the stabber, a Walmart might have a lawsuit problem. Well, if he's from Dearborn, Dearborn has some specific type of people from Dearborn, Michigan. Just saying. Saw a video of him confronting him in a parking lot, telling him to drop it. Now, I think, are you talking, James? Hey, it's Steve Hilliard. How you doing tonight? James, are you talking about the one with the Kohlberger in Idaho, the one where you killed the 4 people, the 2 girls and 2 guys? I think, my personal opinion, I think we're going to find out that Brian Kohlberger is a serial killer. Like, I think you're going to find out that there's going to be other people that he's chopped up and that nobody knew about. It hasn't tied him to him yet, because his reactions and the look on his face to me say, oh, he's done this before. I don't know. There's another video where you say drop the knife. All right, I'll look for it. A man armed with a folding knife went on a stabbing spree at a Walmart near Traverse City, Michigan on Saturday afternoon, randomly targeting victims. Oh, you're saying the victims could be also a certain type of people? Well, it's possible. I don't know. I don't. Yeah, you're right. I don't know. We'd have to see, more information. At least 7 people were treated for injuries at Munson Medical Center. 6 people were in critical condition. 5 were in serious condition. The hospital was assisting with victims' injuries. The man who was not publicly identified, a 42-year-old Michigan resident, was in custody. Motive for the attack was not immediately known. The man used a standard folding knife. Sheriff Michael Shea of Traverse County said citizen involvement brought it to an end. The attack began at 4:45 at the store's checkout, and the attacker was detained less than 3 minutes later by police. The victim included 6 men and 5 women. 3 people were undergoing surgery. Based on information at the time, it was a random attack. The victims were not predetermined. Chopper described the scene as mayhem and confusion. Julia Martell was in the canned vegetable aisle at Walmart when she heard screaming and saw a man with a knife running through the store's pharmacy area. Did she pick up cans of vegetables and start launching them at the guy? Because, those are some good weapons. You can actually knock somebody out with a can of corn, a can of peas. As the man moved through the store, he was shoving and stabbing people. The man changed course and started running towards her. She saw the knife, about 2 inches long, and ran. The man didn't follow her, so turned back towards the store entrance. Him not following me kind of scared me more, because then you had no idea where he was. She said she saw 3 people with stab wounds as she evacuated the store, including a man on the floor in the store's frozen food section. There was blood everywhere. Spokesman for Walmart said violence at the store was unacceptable. Expressed gratitude for the quick response. The FBI was responding to help the sheriff's office. Dan Bongino, deputy director of the FBI, said on social media. All right, well, let's go back here. We'll go back to this page. See, you're saying that there's videos, right? Okay, here goes. Let's take a video here.
Throw the knife that way! Throw it away!
Oh, it's blurry. I can't see. I can't make out the guy. What the? You can't see what he looks like. This is ridiculous.
Put it down!
Why are they blurring the guy out?
Lay down!
Oh.
To say I'm fired up about this one, guys, that would be the understatement.
Okay. Well, that was one video. And then, let's see, the sheriff's going to do some details.
Is the suspect someone you guys are familiar with?
No.
When you say random, does that mean there's no motive ascertained yet?
Based on the information that we have at this time, it appears there were random acts, that there was no, the victims were not predetermined. And again, that's based on the information we have at this time.
Is there any indication that this was a mental health situation?
I can't comment on that.
You said folding knife. Is there any more details on the weapon that you've discovered?
No, just that it appears to be a standard folding knife style weapon.
You said the suspect is a Michigan resident. Is there any more specific information you can say? Where is he from? The area locally, Traverse City, the Grand Traverse area?
At this time, I'd rather not comment.
See, that makes me think if he's not going to comment that he's from Dearborn or somewhere with a high population of a certain type of people, maybe. But that's just speculation on my part.
Do you know when Walmart could reopen to the public?
Yeah, oh yeah, when's Walmart going to reopen?
We have
Is that
Michigan
what these
State
people...
Police Crime Lab is en route to assist with processing the scene, and when that all gets done and the scene gets wrapped up, we are in direct contact with management, so they're aware of everything that's going on, and when the scene is cleared, they'll be able to reopen. Okay?
Is there anything you can say about the FBI's involvement?
No, not at this time.
I guess the only other thing I would ask is there was some social media chatter that an individual with a concealed pistol license was involved in subduing a subject. I'm wondering if you can comment on that or not.
I can't at this time.
Okay.
Do you know the age ranges of the victims?
I do not.
Were any of the victims employees at Walmart?
Not to my knowledge, but again, I don't have that information if in fact they were.
Were any of the first responders injured?
Not that I'm aware of.
Why would you hold a press conference where you can't answer any questions?
Be vigilant. Know that no area is immune to this type of activity, unfortunately. And if you see something, please reach out, call 911. And as I said, there was citizen involvement in this. And as we learn more about that, we'll talk more about it. But it's very tragic, and nobody is immune to it, unfortunately.
I'm sorry I know you said something about the age ranges, but we were hearing some chatter about he was targeting older people.
I don't have any information indicating that.
Okay.
Do you have a comment on the response rate of the local law enforcement coupled with the citizen response?
Yeah, I'm very pleased with the response time, the actions. All entities worked incredibly fluent together, and I commend all of them. Yeah, this was a joint effort all the way through to, as I mentioned, the citizens, and thankfully, no one else is injured. 11 is 11 too many, but thank God it wasn't more.
Do you know what part of the store this occurred in?
I do not. I know that initially it started near the checkout area.
I guess putting this into a wider context, I mean, something like this is on national news pretty frequently, but in Traverse City, in the Traverse City area, this is a violence incident like this is very uncommon, right?
It is very uncommon for our area, but unfortunately, as I mentioned, no one is immune to this. Okay, thank you, and we'll update as we have additional information. Okay? Thank you.
Oh, they cut it away.
Thank you very much.
They cut it away. Anything else? Multiple people stabbed. Multiple people stabbed. About 3 hours ago. I don't see anything else. Newer news. 4 hours. Let's see. This is 56 minutes ago. You want me to see if this is a better video? It's probably the same video, right? You can't see anything. Can't make the guy out. It's blurry as all get out. So, all right. Let's see. New York Post, 56 minutes ago. Let's see. least 11 people stabbed. 5 p.m., a 42-year-old male attacker randomly stabbing shoppers with a standard folding knife in various sections of the big box store. 255 miles northwest of Detroit, so it's pretty far north. Based on the information we have, there were random acts. Are those, what kind of shoes are those he's wearing? Are those like the slip-on slippers that a certain type of people wear? You know what I mean? Oh, at the end of the news conference, he told reporters he talked to him off the record. Oh, okay. Well, 11 victims, 6 victims, critical condition. The whole store started screaming. Tasha Nash told to the guy with a knife. Shopper restored violent registration. Shocked by the number of first responders. Laughing Crocs, he's Gen Z. They look more like not Crocs, but they're like slip-on, like they look like slip-ons, like slip-on, like almost slippers type of thing. It looks like a white hillbilly. I told you so. It's possible. I mean, it's possible he was a crazy white, one of the hill people. You know, anything is possible. Of course, we're not going to go in. They see so many police cars, 11 people rush to the hospital. Police have not released the name or the motive. So we'll keep an eye on this. If the no motive, or if anyone sees anything about a motive or name or anything like that, let me know in the chat. I'll pull it up. We're gonna move on to the next story. Something similar to those type of shoes, yes. Not shower shoes per se, but they're like, there's really thin cloth-sided shoes that they just kind of slip on, is what they look like to me. Like Skechers, yes, but not as nice. They look like really cheap knockoffs, like something you would get at a... Anyway, I don't know. But I don't know if anybody remembers the whole Obama phone thing when they were giving out free phones to everybody, but looks like Obama phone linked CEO fined $128 million and sentenced to 5 years imprisonment for defrauding the U.S. government and money laundering. Hey, Taylor, how we doing? A Torah fan, good to see you. Well, actually, we just need to ban assault people. If we just get rid of the people that assault people. Here's the face to go with the criminal. His name is Isa Assad. They should also investigate his wife on the left, too. Husband and wife, they own this thing called Q Mobile. See, this is the phones they were selling. They were saying these phones that you're giving out, these Obama Yes We Can phones, see? You're not going to offend anybody here, Jen. Everyone here, please use speak freely here. We don't censor people, and we believe in free speech, and we believe in freedom. So have at it. The wife was there, and the wife was whose wife? The guy's wife that did the stabbing was there. No, this is a different story. I'm sorry, Jen. This is the Q Wireless story about this guy. It's a different story. This is a different story. This is Isa Assad. This is about the Obama phones. Massive Obama phone fraud. Issa Assad, the owner of Q-Link Wireless, an Obama phone vendor, and his company were ordered to pay $128 million and serve 5 years imprisonment for defrauding. Cal Reese, I know, if we could just ban spoons, everyone would be okay. Defrauding the FCC over the Lifeline program, Obama phones. The company made $618,736,494 off the Lifeline program from 2013 to 2019. So in 6 years, he made $600 million. So he made $100 million a year off of Obama phones. He and his company stole over $109 million from the government in fraudulent billing and then made up fake records to try and cover this up once he realized he was being investigated. According to the Federal Register, Q-Link Wireless made $618 million from the Lifeline Obama phone program. Yep. At least $50 million of his funds were sent to bank accounts controlled by his family in Jordan. Jordanians. Now, the good thing, though, is the Jordanians it's 5 years house arrest. It better not be no 5 years house arrest. That'll really piss me off. The good thing about the Jordanians, though, is they don't play. And if someone could make a call to King Abdullah, and he will take care of this quick, fast, and in a hurry. He will get that money back. This wasn't Assad's first run-in with law enforcement either. In 2014, he deliberately ran a man over in a parking lot in Dania Beach, Florida, over $65 that the victim claimed he was owed for work he completed. The victim, Mike Kramer, died from his injuries after being in a coma for several days. Assad was originally charged with murder, but in 2019, he pled nolo contendere to misdemeanor culpable negligence and was ordered to pay a $225 fine and given 1 year probation for deliberately running a man over killing him. Wait a minute. How does somebody run somebody over and kill them in an argument over $45 or whatever, $65, whatever that was? And plead not that he's not contending it. Culpable negligence. What kind of plea deal? They need to investigate where the money went that he stole, because it seems to me like from just hearing this that he paid somebody off to get this deal for murder. Just saying. That's what it sounds like to me. Let's hope imprisonment doesn't mean home confinement. If that's the case, stand by for a big story. South Florida Telecom CEO to pay $108 million and get sentenced to 5 years for massive government fraud. Yeah. Karen Reed was facing life in prison for what exactly? And yeah, he played no contest and got probation. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There was something. Somebody got paid off. Somebody got paid off. Obama phone link CEO fined $128 million and sentenced to 5 years imprisonment for defrauding the government and money laundering. From Brian Lupo. The CEO of a company that benefited immensely from the Lifeline program, commonly referred to as Obama phones, during the Obama administration, has been sentenced to 5 years in prison and, along with his company, ordered to pay $128 million in fines. Issa Assad, 51, of Southwest Ranches, Florida, and his company, Q-Link Wireless, were sentenced for a years-long scheme to steal over $100 million from the Obama phone program, dating back to 2012. Assad was also sentenced over charges of money laundering. So that's all? 5 years for stealing $100 million in money laundering? Didn't George Santos get like 8 years for 50 grand? Seems like there's a little problem there, right? Just saying. Between 2013 and 2019, Q-Link Wireless made $618 million from the Lifeline program, according to the Federal Register. 21% of Q-Link's payments during this period were due to fraud. So 21% of their payments were fraud. 5 years seems like a slap on the wrist. Q-Link, directed by Assad, cheated the program by making repeated false claims for reimbursement, taking and retaining Lifeline funds that it was not entitled to receive, providing false information about customers, and deceiving the FCC about compliance with program rules. According to a press release of the DOJ Southern District of Florida. Hey, Southern District of Florida, we just heard about another case of No, he made 618 million. Libby, 100 million was fraud. 100 million out of the 618 was fraud. 100 million. But the Southern District of Florida, they're known for making some very weird deals, aren't they? Isn't that where that whole Epstein deal came out of, the Southern District of Florida, where he got the sweetheart deal? So it seems like maybe what is this guy involved in? Wonder if that 100 million went somewhere else. They're saying they gave money went to Jordan. But I wonder what else is going on. Seems weird, right? Assad engaged in multiple tricks that were intended to mislead the FCC regarding many users were actually using Q-Link's Obama phones while preventing customers who didn't want the phones from ending their relationship with the program. This enabled Q-Link to continue billing the program despite having unwilling customers. One of the tricks utilized by Q-Link was an automatic script that was played when customers that said, "Hello, your Medicaid, food stamp, and Lifeline benefits are about to get canceled. To avoid cancellation of these benefits, press 1 now to indicate you wish to remain enrolled in these government programs. Press 2 if you wish to speak to a representative about your government benefits. To opt out of any future calls, press 3. One customer who had an inoperable phone asked, "You just want me to throw it in the garbage?" He said, "Just make sure you continue using the device at least once every 30 days. When Assad learned that Q-Link was under investigation by the FCC, he provided false records to the FCC to conceal that scam and continued collecting reimbursement. Assad and Q-Link, along with others, manufactured cell phone activity of Q-Link customers who were not actually using the phones, causing losses of $110 million to the FCC. According to the release, he sent more than $50 million in Lifeline funds to a Jordanian bank account controlled by his family. He wasn't finished defrauding the federal government following the Lifeline scheme. In 2021, Q-Link made false claims that its income was substantially decreased by the COVID-19 pandemic, proceeded to make unlawful financial transfers of about $389,000 on things such as his Land Rover payment and his personal Amex card, jewelry, and personal property taxes. Assad, the owner of Q-Link Wireless and Obama phone vendors, company ordered to pay $128 million, covered the Lifeline program. They made $618 million. They deliberately scammed 2 vital government programs aimed at supporting people and companies in economic distress. See, basically, it just seems to me like anytime the government does anything, it's going to be rampant with fraud because it's not their money, it's our money. So the people that are giving the money away don't really care because it's not their money. Wrongfully diverting hundreds of millions of dollars for their personal benefit and gain, all while impeding the government's capacity to assist those who generally required help. The outcomes underscore a resolve to make sure that those people who mastermind corporate fraud schemes face personal consequences. Q-Link and Assad stole funds from a key FCC program meant to serve low-income households, said Inspector General Farah Daman of the FCC Office of Inspector Generals. The sentencing sends an important message that egregious criminal conduct against FCC programs will not go unanswered. I honestly would expect for stealing over $100 million in money laundering that it would have been a lot more than 5 years. That's my belief, that it should have been like at least, I don't know, a year for every $10 million maybe, or 5, something like that. 1 year for $10 million, so $100 million, that would be 10 years. I don't know. Yeah, somebody probably got kicked back somewhere, because especially when you find out that other story about that he was able to skate on a suspended sentence for no jail time for murder. Q-Link's website was no longer active, but archived previously here. Well, let's take a look at their website. This was what their website looked like. Q-Link Wireless. Now, see, that's just terrible. That's just terrible that they're going to put this woman on there and associate her with this. Nationwide coverage, they had been many times. Oh, hi, Barbie World. Don't worry, you're here. Better late than never. You think because he's a Jordanian citizen that he got a slap on the wrist? Why wasn't he deported then? And why the Jordanians wouldn't play with him? You know what I mean? The Jordanians wouldn't play with them. They would throw him right into the Jordanians. Don't play. King Abdullah don't play with people. And it's not even rapper money. Well, I don't know. Nationwide telecom provider is pleads guilty to massive fraud. Says guy is 51 of Southwest Ranches, Florida, pleaded guilty to conspiring to defraud $100 million. So this probably was a plea deal. Count one, then pleaded guilty to count two. Both defendants pleaded guilty to the information forfeiture allegations. Rodolfo Ruiz. Assad's plea contains a joint recommendation that he serve the statutory maximum sentence of 5 years imprisonment. The statutory maximum count two is 10 years. Okay, so they want him to serve the statutory maximum on count one, and the statutory maximum count two is 10 years. And Assad's death sentence will be determined by the court after considering that the U.S. sentencing guidelines and other statutory factors. So he had count one was 5 years, count two was 10 years, and so they basically just gave him count one, and that's it. He ordered to pay $109 million in restitution to the federal FCC, and Assad separately agreed to pay $1.8 million in restitution to the U.S. Small Business Association and to a forfeiture judgment against him of at least $17 million. They purposely defrauded two critical programs. The plea agreement in this case imposed extraordinary and unprecedented financial penalties, as they should. Assad cheated two different programs. They'll continue to investigate and prosecute these types of fraud. Brazen fraud schemes to prey on vulnerable populations to target federal telephone and broadband subsidies designed to ensure that low-income consumers can access critical telecom services demand the most serious punishments like the one included in today's plea agreement. I don't, to me, 5 years doesn't seem like the most serious punishment. But that's just me. I mean, 5 years is 5 years, but it's not, $100 million. It should be like 50 years, maybe. I don't know. It's a lot of money. Stealing over $100 million from programs meant to support people in times of need is a crime against the entire nation. Guilty pleas send a clear message. Those who cheat the government will be personally held accountable. I wonder did he violate IRS because it said IRS. Criminal investigators with law enforcement partners are committed to charging. Crimes are far from victimless. Well, I think that's why he got pardoned, Libby. It's because Trump looked at it and the people said that it was egregious what they did to him. It was way over the top. That it was like the fraud that he did was nowhere near anything like this. It was like he got 12 years for far less money, like $1 million. What are you doing? You all right? All right, on to the next story. It seems the Chinese Communist Party is trying to buy Oklahoma. The Chinese Communist Party is buying up Oklahoma. Where the hell is Congressman Frank Lucas? Oh, he's too busy trying to steal land that belongs to two Native American Indian tribes. If China invaded Oklahoma with tanks, Frank Lucas would hand them the keys and ask for a donation. Why are foreigners allowed to purchase any land on American soil, let alone strategic around our military installations? This is criminal. Americans do not consent. Oh. Well, I'm happy to see you, Michael. It's nice. I'm happy too. Please hit the like and subscribe. We take all comers here. I couldn't buy a house in Mexico 10 years ago being a foreigner, but to have a Mexican national in the process on the paperwork, so what are we doing again? Okay. Gordon Chang to Newsmax. CCP buying land in Oklahoma is a real problem. We're all happy for Mike.
On Oklahoma land, as the next governor says, Oklahoma has a real problem. There's a lot of illegal marijuana grows in Oklahoma that own on Chinese land. There are human trafficking operations that are alleged to be on Chinese-owned land in Oklahoma, and I'm sure those allegations are correct. And there's everything else. So Oklahoma has been thoroughly penetrated by illegal Chinese buys of land. With regard to President Trump, I don't think he should go to China. It's much too early. There's too much on the table. The Chinese are going to, as they have always done, they are going to trumpet a foreign leader's trip to China. They're going to use that as propaganda around the world against the United States. There's a lot that we can accomplish with China, but by not talking. If we don't talk to the Chinese, we do not, for one thing, inflate their sense of egos. Also, we do not, in a very important sense, give them the home court advantage. So I hope that the president doesn't.
Good. Oklahoma has a real problem because of the Chinese purchases of land, farmland, particularly near its military installations. China expert Gordon Chang agreed on Newsmax Saturday. Oklahoma has been thoroughly penetrated by the illegal Chinese buys of land. He appeared with the GOP gubernatorial candidate Mike Mazzei on Newsmax Saturday report. He said reports of illegal activity are going on with Chinese-owned land in Oklahoma, including illegal marijuana farms, human trafficking, and I'm sure those allegations are correct. Gordon Chang Kai-shek. Could be. Maybe. Mezzi Meeswell told Newsmax that the Communist Chinese Party owns land in all of his states, 77 counties, most of which is farmland. We have 5 major military installations. And he said from the CCP controlled land, they could launch weapons like Israel did to Iran. They could poison our water. They could introduce diseases to humans and livestock. Moreover, he said the state's attorney general is refusing to enforce a state law banning foreign ownership of land. What the hell's going on in Oklahoma? To make matters worse, the Oklahoma Speaker of the House has proclaimed publicly that he's got some new laws passed that ban foreign land ownership, and when, in actuality, it codified a crazy loophole that literally allows illegal immigrants to buy land in the state of Oklahoma. As Oklahoma's next governor, I will enforce the law and evict the Chinese communists from the state of Oklahoma. Meanwhile, Chang also discussed the potential for Trump to travel to China and says he does not think he should make the trip. According to reports, Trump may visit China before going to the Asian Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit between October 30th and November 1st, or potentially meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the summit in South Korea. It's much too early, said Chang. There's much on the table. The Chinese are going to do as they've always done. They're going to trumpet a foreign leader's trip to China. They're going to use that as propaganda around the world against the United States. Further, the United States does not want to give Chinese the home court advantage, so I hope the president doesn't do that. Newsmax is the fastest growing news in the place, so. Did I see the news of the Oklahoma school superintendent, Brian Walters? Was that the, I saw something about a school superintendent that was saying stuff about Hogan, I think, or something. I don't know. I saw different stuff, but I would have to look. It's one thing I wanted to do here. So there was another thing that I saw since we were talking about a few things. Do this real quick. Oh wait, no, I got more stories here for the same thing. So, yeah, so Republicans target China as a security threat to the U.S., real estate, schools, and farmland. Better late than never, China has already infiltrated every facet of the American infrastructure. Here's a map in case anyone is just waking up. Chinese-owned farmland in America. Look at it all. It's in red. See it all? That's a lot of farmland. I mean, look at it all. Look at all that farmland. Fort Leonard Wood, yeah, it's all right around the Army bases and Air Force bases. Does anyone think there's a strange feeling that might be a reason why? Republicans target China as a security threat to the U.S. real estate, schools, and farmland. With the southern border crisis largely eliminated, Republicans and the Trump administration are setting their sights on China as the next major threat to U.S. security, domestic security. Long considered a foreign adversary, China has been making inroads in nearly all sectors of American society. Including real estate, university, agriculture, and even the legal system. Reports released just over a month ago show the spread of China's influence. One report showed that Chinese nationals make up a top percentage, 15% of foreign buyers of U.S. homes from April 24 to March 25. The amounts to $13.7 billion worth of existing homes in the U.S. getting sold to Chinese nationals, some still residing abroad. Higher education institutions like University of Michigan have had multiple Chinese foreign exchange students arrested for activities including spying on U.S. military bases, smuggling dangerous pathogens, illegally voting in the 2024 presidential election. An even greater source of concern for Republicans, the amount of U.S. farmland that Chinese entities, some of whom are connected to the Chinese Communist Party, now own. According to the federal report released earlier this month, Chinese investors own at least 277,000 acres of agricultural land across 30 states. The U.S. Department of Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins has pledged the Trump administration will restore farm security and expose to the extent which our adversaries have targeted American agriculture. She also recently launched a National Security Farm Action Plan to protect American agriculture. 2 Republican lawmakers plan to help with that effort. U.S. Senator Josh Hawley and U.S. Representative Mary Miller introduced the Protecting Our Farms Act and Homes from China Act in their respective chambers this week. The legislation would ban Chinese companies and individuals affiliated with the CCP from buying agricultural land in the U.S. and require such parties who already own U.S. agricultural land to divest from it within 1 year. Those parties would also have to divest from any U.S. residential real estate currently owned, and any residential real estate in the U.S. would be off limits to CCC affiliated buyers for the next 2 years. The president could renew the prohibition biannually. China's goal is simple: control our food production, control our land, and weaken America from within. Miller said on Friday, we are not going to let that happen. Mm-hmm. One thing I want to look for was another thing that I thought was interesting. It was along these similar lines. Not that one. Not that one. Here it is. This one. It says, white imperialist privilege and individualism is the ideology of a predator. That's NJ No melts down at People's Summit for Korea. Meet NJ No of Pivot to Peace. Yesterday at the People's Summit for Korea, he delivered a full-throttle tanky tirade blaming the West for global genocide, calling Israel the killer cop of the Middle East, and accusing Amy Goodman, Jacobin, and Mahdi Hassan of laundering U.S. empire. Imperialism is the privilege to be stupid, ignorant, and selfish, greedy, lazy, and violent on the global world historical scale, and to be hypocritical about it. Individualism is the ideology of the predator. This was a revolutionary hate speech, laced with class warfare, race absolutism, and open contempt for any institution that deviates from KJ No's ideological line. Get ready, we've got 8 more clips, and they only get wilder from here.
White imperialist privilege. It's the privilege to conduct genocide at will. We're mostly speaking English today, and this is the unearned privilege of the empire. Land recognition is 500 years overdue. It should have happened 500 years ago. It's 500 years too late. If all you do is recognize, your recognition is a cover-up for genocide. Think about it. To cut to the chase, it's the privilege to be ignorant, greedy, selfish, and violent. Violent without limits. Now is the time not just for recognition, but for responsibility, remorse, reparation, redress, and return.
Has anyone else noticed that it looks like he's sitting in a jail cell almost? It's like concrete wall with glass, and that's a bed behind him, and it looks like a tiny little room. Like, is he locked up somewhere? What's going on?
The white imperialists can live, work, reside, buy and sell land that is not theirs, stolen from the peoples of the world. The ruling elite love their golf courses. They place golf courses everywhere. The Biden-Trump debate was really a debate about their golf handicap. The white imperialists can travel, work around the world without having to learn a foreign language. They have a monopoly on the means of communication, the language itself. Like the cops, who are afraid of their shadows and kill people of color for their safety. Like Israel, which is essentially the killer cop of the Middle East, a killer cop with genocidal impunity. First, decolonize your mind. Your mind is a terrain of battle. Don't let it be occupied. We have to resist propaganda and indoctrination. We're already speaking the language of the colonizer. Imperialism is the privilege to be stupid, ignorant, selfish, greedy, lazy, and violent on a global world historical scale, and to be hypocritical about it. And it has always been genocidal, not just in Palestine, but in Korea, Indonesia, Vietnam, all across Africa, all across Asia, all across the global south, and of course, all over the Americans. It's all built on genocide. Beware of false friends. Watch out for the lies they tell you. Watch out for Amy Goodman. Watch out for the jackals at Jacobin. Watch out for Mehdi Hassan and all the other propagandists who try to buy legitimacy for the empire. It is the privilege of the white empire and its denizens to be ignorant, or rather to pretend to be ignorant, and of course, hypocritical, and to claim to have a monopoly on history and reality and truth and morality. The word individualism doesn't exist in the English language until the 1750s. It's always prefaced at the time with the word economic. In other words, it's a euphemism for capitalism. Why is individualism so important? It's the ideology of the predator.
I want everyone to notice, he does not say Western culture. He doesn't say cat. He keeps saying white, white, white. He's a racist. That's what you call a racist. That's what you call a race realist Asian dude who thinks that hates all white people, which is, at least he's honest, maybe. I don't know. Let's see what else. There's more. There's more, though. There's more. There's more of these. Next one, he goes, the privilege to conduct genocide at will. It said Western powers thrive on mass murder, disappearance, and global denial. It's the privilege to be ignorant, greedy, selfish, and violent. Violent without limits. It's a privilege to conduct genocide at will. He claims it's happening not just in Palestine, but in Korea, Indonesia, Vietnam, and all over Africa, all over Asia, all over the Americas. Even here, people disappear for going out. Wait, didn't we?
White imperialism.
I thought we heard that.
In other words, I want to unpack the imperial knapsack, or the white imperial knapsack. To cut to the chase, it's the privilege to be ignorant, greedy, selfish, and violent. Violent without limits. It's the privilege to conduct genocide at will. Currently in Palestine, live streamed before our eyes, we see children maimed, shot, tortured, starved to death. Parents shot dead for the crime of wanting to feed their children. Doctors shot dead for the crime of saving lives. Journalists shot dead for the crime of telling the truth. People shot dead for the crime of being Palestinian. And even here, people disappeared for calling out this atrocity. This is how the empire works. Not just in Palestine, but in Korea, Indonesia, Vietnam, all across Africa, all across Asia, all across the global south, and of course, all over the Americans. It's all built on genocide. And they are telling you it never happened and that it isn't happening right now. It is the privilege of the white empire and its denizens to be ignorant, or rather to pretend to be ignorant, and of course, hypocritical, and to claim to have a monopoly on history and reality and truth.
This guy's a crazy person. The Korean War was Gaza with snow. It says U.S. power is built on fragility, hypocrisy, and mass graves. Like with Israel, which is essentially the killer cop of the Middle East, it's a privilege of fragility. Empire claims universal imperialism is a privilege to be stupid, ignorant, selfish. This guy keeps repeating the same shit. This one's an omnicide. He claims the U.S. is actively preparing a genocide-level war against North Korea. Now the empire is preparing another genocide. This one's an omnicide. I'm talking about the war against Korea. Is that what he calls a three-step process: pre-kinetic war, staging the theater, provocation, citing 275 military exercises and live bombing rehearsals, no warrants, 20 nuclear bomb runs, 150 houses destroyed in a single blow. U.S. Army is also rehearsing a capture of POWs. It's unheard of granularity. U.S. and South Korea are conducting expanded joint drills. He says his claims collapse world military posture into conspiratorial fantasy, turning military deterrence into a pretext for revolution. The ruling elite turned golf courses into missile bases. The ruling elite love their golf courses, but when they turn them into missile bases, you know they're serious because they never give up anything. Uses the U.S. of building a war machine disguised in language. You colonize your mind, don't let it be occupied. Yes, the young Alien Island has seen military expansion, but there's no evidence that golf courses are being converted into missile bases. Japan's radar and missile facilities have been built on former farmland and commercial zones, not recreational golf courses. In fact, U.S. military bases in Japan operate golf courses for leisure, not warfighting. Taiwan Island was the global center of fascist dictatorships. No claims Taiwan enabled death squads and coups for the empire. Taiwan Island was the global center of the alliance fascist dictatorship horizon Nazis. Guys retarded. Taiwan, the Nazis were gone before Taiwan was ever a thing. Taiwan facilitators of a pager attack. Maybe. The legitimate was the ideological predator. Wow, this guy's... Anyway, so you see, this is the crazy people that we're dealing with, man. Crazy people. Now we're on another new crazy people. On to the next story. Is Mexico warns Mexicans to take extreme precaution when visiting Florida, that they will detain you there for anything. Where is Dave? Dave is on his own show. He does a movie show on Saturday night. I do this show, it's more of a news show, reading the news. There, Mr. Angus. If you ever want to join, just ask and I'll send you the link. Angus. Look, she's yelling, "Get out of Florida! Get out of Florida!" Big question is, Mexican leadership kiss the asses of and drug cartels? What is this? Of and do what the drug cartels want them to do, to stay alive, or is it because of politics to save as a cartel criminal? It's wonder. I was on Dave's show today, a Torah fan. I was on date with Dave today. So there. Oh no! Anyway, back to living in a free state. Hopefully, get rid of the igloo so we can openly accept invited guests. Let's see. Let's read the story. It says Mexico warns Mexicans: stay away from Florida. They will detain you there for anything. Mexico is warning its citizens not to travel to Florida. After reports emerged that Mexican nationals are being detained without legal process inside Florida's remote swamp-based detention center known as Alligator Alcatraz. First of all, they're all getting legal process. They all get due process. Just due process is different for illegal aliens and U.S. citizens. There's a different due process. Mexican Consul Juan Sabines issued a travel warning on July 23rd, stating that take extreme precaution when you come to Florida. The consulate warned Mexican travelers, even those on valid visas, could be arrested during traffic stops and sent to the Everglades-based facility with no access to attorneys or due process. Yes, they reenacted the Roosevelt Reservation along the southern border, which was put into place during World War II, and it was never the law that put it into place. It's still on the book, so they were able to reactivate it and militarize the border. And surprisingly, the border was always militarized up until the 60s. It will detain you here for anything. Sabines said Mexicans visiting the state need to worry about basic things such as renting cars from legitimate locations, driving with a license, and carrying documentation at all times. Well, here's the thing. It's actually the law in the United States that all visitors on visas and everything must have their papers with them at all times. So it is a law. It's a misdemeanor to not have your papers with you. Yeah, I didn't get it. I forgot to start it, so I just was gonna let it go. I was just figured I'd do a show. I'd go for a few hours and see how I feel, and then see what happens. I wanted to see how it works if I don't ask for money, if people just give it because they like, I don't know. I feel like I'm begging, and I don't like begging. Like shows that beg all the time. I don't know. U.S. law requires all non-U.S. citizens 18 and over to carry documentation of their legal status in the United States at all times. See? That's the law, including their most recent I-94 arrival departure record and other status-specific documents like I-20s or I-797s. Failure to comply can result in fines or imprisonment. The diplomatic alert followed confirmation that at least 14 Mexican nationals are currently detained inside the state-run detention camp, including a pair of brothers held for weeks after being pulled over near Orlando. The Mexican government is demanding their repatriation to Mexico. Okay. Yeah, I like getting super chats and I like to make money, you know what I mean? To make a little money, for my time. But I feel weird, like it feels icky and it feels weird. Like I generally do a goal though. Like I'll put in just a goal. I'll just be like, there's a goal there for like so many super chats, and then I'll go for 4 hours instead of 2 hours. But I just felt like streaming tonight. I'm going to go for 2, 3 hours, 4 hours. We'll see what happens, how I feel. Yet this past April, Mexico jailed 2 U.S. citizens from Michigan in a maximum security facility over a timeshare dispute for over a month. Oh, that's odd, right? That's odd. Numbers are not published by Mexico or Washington as to the number of American citizens currently jailed or in prison in Mexico. Alligator Alcatraz sits on 39 square miles of swamp inside Big Cypress National Preserve. Beautiful place. It's the greatest preserve ever. It's full of cypress. There's lots of snakes and alligators and pythons. They found more pythons there than anywhere else in the world, actually. So it's a good place to go. The tent-based compound, constructed in July 2025, was designed to hold up to 5,000 illegals with natural escape deterrents, alligators, and Burmese pythons. Well, I should have read ahead of the story, I guess. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum is now demanding the immediate repatriation of detained Mexican citizens, stating that Florida facility violates basic human rights. Really? Really? Violates? Do we want to compare Mexican prisons to Alligator Alcatraz? Do we really want to do that? Because I think we could go apples to apples there and see what's violating basic human rights. The Mexican government is weighing a formal nationwide advisory against traveling to Florida. Good. Please do. I'll give it to you. I'll tell you, hey, if you're an illegal alien, stay out of Florida. We don't play. It's easy. See, I did it. I did it for you. Citing widespread abuse of state enforcement powers, lack of oversight, and denial of consular access. Consul Sabinas added that because Alligator Alcatraz is run by the state, immigration detainees there do not receive the same federal legal protections typically afforded in ICE or DHS custody. Okay. I saw you'd say this before. You have tax dollars to work, prisons and asylums, staff and food. Oh, we pay El Salvador for prison suit. Okay. We only pay El Salvador to hold people. I'm over both parties too. I can't stand either party, to tell you the truth. I think they both suck. I'm not happy. I want them to actually, people that are actually going to do something. But what I'll say here about El Salvador is we're not paying for them to hold any citizens of El Salvador. Any citizens of El Salvador, they're holding because they're MS-13 gang members. And it's a crime to be an MS-13 gang member in El Salvador. So El Salvador wants them, they consider them to be terrorists, so they are holding them for free. But if we send citizens that are not from El Salvador, like not citizens of El Salvador, like Venezuelans, the TDA guys that we sent to Venezuela, from Venezuela that we sent to El Salvador, we were paying like, I think, $1,500 or $5,000, like a very minor amount per year. When you consider what it costs us, $55,000 to $65,000 per person to house a person in U.S. prison, what we were paying to house them in El Salvador was like a tenth of the cost. So it was really saving us money. It was like a deal. We should set 10 times the amount of people there because it was that much cheaper. Daily Mail is showing an image of the face of the knife detector. Okay, I will look for that right now. So Governor DeSantis has defended the facility, calling it a deterrent. Deportation flights have already begun, according to official statements. Over 100 illegals have already been flown out of the country, with more flights planned from the on-site runway. Why do we pay for citizens that don't live in the U.S. at all? Not our problem, right? Well, we shouldn't be paying, but if instead of housing the people here in our prisons, the people that aren't citizens that we were going to deport anyway, and since Venezuela refused to take them back, because normally we have agreements that the country will take them back, but like we've got people in Djibouti, I think, and in another South Sudan, maybe another place, because countries wouldn't take the people back that got out when they got released from prison, and the country said, "Yeah, we're not taking them back. We don't want the criminals," and so we had to find somewhere else that would take them, and so we work out a deal with them, an arrangement, and get these other countries to take them at a percentage, a lower cost per se than here. And I'm not going to say that the prisons are nicer than the prisons in the U.S., but it's not, I don't know what the other alternative would be, just exiling them on a boat. I understand showing documents to law enforcement, but I shouldn't have to be required to prove who I am to anyone. If you're a U.S. citizen, I don't think you have to prove who you are to anyone unless you're going to vote. You have to prove who you are. If you're going to get I think you have to. If you get asked your name, I think you have to give your name to police in most states. But if you're a visitor in the United States, it's the law that you have to carry your documentation and provide it upon request, or it's a crime. But that's because you're not a citizen. So. Says, I worked at 2 prisons. Explains my sperm surfers give the money to American staff. Well, sure, definitely. The American correction staff do deserve a living wage. I think the problem is that that our prisons are so overcrowded that the staff are not getting a living wage. I'm not a. What's your opinion on the private prisons? Are those people getting paid decent wages in the private prisons, or aren't they? Don't they make less money in a private prison than a state-run prison? I mean, I know that it's cheaper for the state to put people in private prisons because I would think the costs are lower because anyone who works for the state, the county, or anything in a jail, they have to get really good benefits, medical, and all this stuff. And I mean, I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I would honestly prefer there to be a lot less people in prison, but I'm also not a fan of allowing the government to kill people. So I don't really trust them to just get rid of the people that we really don't need around anymore. Because how do I know that they're not just killing people they just disagree with politically or have a problem with? I just don't know. I think there is a point when you see something on video, like you have video evidence or something, and you see this person, that they do something and then they should be dealt with. But it's why I'm kind of always been a fan of everyone being armed at all times and defending themselves. And that way, if somebody does something that puts someone's life in danger, that person will take care of business, and that person will no longer be able to put anybody else's life in danger anymore, and the state doesn't have to do anything. I support the whole Grady-Judd theory on dealing with criminals. It's you just stop shooting when you run out of bullets. That was tongue-in-cheek, too. Oh, look at that. We're at 1 hour and 8 minutes into the stream, so I'm going to say goodbye to Twitter, X. I stream on Twitter and X for approximately 1 hour just to try to get people to come over to YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, Facebook. Yes, I stream on all these retarded places. But anyway, I'm going to say goodbye to X. I'll see you if you're on X, come on over. For Jim can tell you the news. Oh, thank God those people are gone. Now it's just us. Anyway, well, you're welcome, Jen. I'm very reasonable. Corrections Corps of America violations would not support Trump's immigration agenda. I'm not sure. If you want to send me some information about it, I would be glad to look into it. I don't know much about it. I never really... I'm not a fan of the private prisons because I think they don't have the oversight that you get when it's run by the government. Like you could... There's things in place. There's the 1984 lawsuits. There's the damn it, I can't think of the name. There's a bunch of lawsuits that are basically designed to prevent people from being mistreated. But what happens when it's a private company? It's not the government, so I don't think those federal laws apply to private companies. But I'm not sure. Yeah. CNN interviewed detainees who claim that being at Alcatraz is a type of torture. Well, okay, being in any jail is a type of torture. You're being sequestered away from your family, so that's a type of torture. Being held in a solitary confinement is a type of torture. Not being able to go outside is a type of torture. Not being able to piss and shit and shower when you want to is a type of torture. Not being able to talk to your family when you want to is a type of torture. Being forced to eat food provided to you by other people that you didn't get to choose is a type of torture. I don't know, am I going off on a tangent here? Sorry. Representative Debbie Wasserman Shields called the conditions at the facility disturbing and vile. Oh yeah, she said that they're making them drink out of toilets because they have prison toilets, which has the prison, like Jen, you would know this is a toilet and with a button, and then it's a sink which you wash your hands, and then there's another button you push and it's a water fountain you drink out of. But see, Debbie Wasserman Schultz said that the same thing AOC said in Trump's first term, that they're forced to drink toilet water because the water comes out of the top of the toilet, you see. The states still investigate private prisons. Again, you can look up the violations here in Idaho of private prisons. Yeah, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt they're bad. I don't doubt they're bad. That's what I'm saying. But at least with if it's a state run, if it's run by the state or the federal government, there's laws that are designed to, that people can sue under different acts. Bivens claim. That's it. You can have a Bivens claim against the government if they. Yeah. But Trumpinator, it's not really toilet water though. It's just the water that goes into the toilet. You're getting it out of the pipe. It's like when you're in your bathroom and you get a drink of water from your sink when you brush your teeth, you're using the same water that you use to flush your toilet. It's not different. No, I just don't get it. I don't know why I'm big. Mm-hmm. The Trump Department of Justice has filed lawsuits to prevent the opening and operation of the facility from being slowed down by bad faith left-wing litigation. The Trump Department of Justice has filed lawsuits to prevent the opening and operation of the facility from being slowed down by bad faith left-wing litigation. That would seem like that the left-wing people filed lawsuits, and then the Trump Department of Justice are involved in that. Wording of that sounds really weird. The Department of Justice has defended President Trump's immigration agenda in court since day one. We are proud to protect Alligator Alcatraz from baseless, politically motivated legal schemes. The Attorney General Pamela Bondi. Trump is also trying to keep his campaign promises to fundamentally change America's immigration system and enact mass deportations. The administration's legal challenge to birthright citizenship, where foreign nationals giving birth in America confer U.S. citizenship upon their children, face a setback this week in appellate court, denying the administration's reinterpretation of the automatic citizenship provision. It's not a reinterpretation, it's the correct interpretation. Even the decision of Juan Kim-Ark, the only reason Juan Kim-Ark was a citizen was because his parents were lawful permanent residents, which is the same as a green card. So, anybody that's just here visiting, invaders, if you're here on a tourist visa, a work visa, you're just passing through, your children are not entitled to be U.S. citizens because you still have loyalty to your home country. You haven't decided to permanently stay here. You haven't made that commitment. If you're here illegally, you're definitely not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. Since 1898, the courts have said children born in the U.S. jurisdiction are citizens. That's not true. That's not what the lawsuit says. What is wrong with these people? Estimates say around 250,000 children are born to parents who are illegally in the United States and who in the past would have automatically been considered U.S. citizens. Yeah, that's right. They shouldn't be. At 2025, Florida's population is 23 million, the nation's third most populous state. There's estimated 1 million illegal immigrants in Florida. Ooh, we got to get that number down. We got to get them out. And nationwide estimates range between 11 and 18 million. That's bullshit. There's at least 50 million in the country. At least 50 million. You motherfuckers have been saying 15 million since George Bush was president. There's roughly 3.7 million pending cases in U.S. immigration courts in front of the nation's 750 judges. Illegal immigrants are estimated to cost the American government an estimated net negative $68,000 per person. Estimated net negative of $68,000 per person. The Federation for Immigration Reform estimated total net cost of illegal immigration at over $150 billion in early 2023. Yeah, that's per year. President Trump included funding for Big Beautiful Bill for an additional 250 judges, though estimates indicate that would reduce the court's current backlog to the end by the end of Trump's 4-year term, 2029. All right, here's another story which I thought was I found interesting. It's just like a short story. It says trans terror. Where is Daniel Penny when you need him? Knife wielding man threatens New York City subway passenger. Why are folks so angry? That's a big knife. That's a butcher knife. Wow. That's crazy, right? That's some crazy stuff right there. Next story. Dun, 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 dun. Anyone know who that is? George Santos deserves prison, not a pardon. See, I would change this to George Santos. Prison or a pardon with a question mark. What do you mean? It just looks like immigration is mainly a distraction, keeps people happy. In the end, it wouldn't have mattered. I'd like to know what you. Yeah, there's right there's 1 million aliens in Los Angeles and county. I'd say there's more than a million. I'd say there's well more than a million in Los Angeles. Hey, there's 70 people here watching. Please hit the like button. Give it a thumbs up if you'd like it. And remember, if you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe. Leave a comment. Participate in the chat. Let us know what you like and don't like. George Santos did not stretch the truth. He did not fudge numbers. He did not run afoul of technicalities of campaign finance law. He stole, lied, and exploited vulnerable people for personal and political gain. These are not victimless crimes, nor were they victimless lies. They were part of an elaborate scheme to build a fraudulent political career on a foundation of stolen funds, fictitious wealth, and unearned trust. It is time conservatives stop equivocating. If George Santos were not a thief, he might have been talented, even promising political figure. But if he is a thief, and a spectacular, cynical one at that, he stole from the old and the sick. He stole from donors. He stole from U.S. taxpayer. He's not a misunderstood maverick or a casualty of the overzealous prosecution. He's a con man and a criminal. Let's begin as the law did with the false image he built. Santos, through deliberate lies to the Federal Election Commission and his own party, fabricated a story of fundraising success. In early 2022, he claimed to have raised over $250,000 in a single quarter from third-party donors, including a personal loan of $500,000 to his own campaign. These were lies. He did not have the money. He did not receive these donations. But this mirage of financial viability was just enough to secure his acceptance in the National Republican Congressional Committee's Young Guns program, granting him financial, logistical, and strategic support. The GOP, believing they were backing a legitimate, self-sustaining candidate, diverted valuable resources to a fraud. Yeah, Joe liked him. So what's the end game when all the immigrants are gone? What's next? All the immigrants will not be gone. All the illegal immigrants will be gone. All the illegal immigrants will be gone. And then legal immigrants come in. See, they can leave, and then they can say, hey, we want to come back in, and then they can get papers and come back in legally. But they have to leave first. Mm-hmm. That's right. Illegal immigration does hurt every citizen in this country. Oh, I don't know if he'll go down as the craziest politician ever. I mean, there was some, yeah. I mean, there was some crazy people. Remember Trafficante from Ohio? That congressman, he was pretty nuts. Jim Trafficante, I think his name was. And but I like to compare the story that we did earlier with the guy who stole over $110 million and got 5 years to Santos, who stole what, 50,000, I think it was, $60,000. And I don't get it. Set 50 million to I just don't understand how. Yeah, I mean, people don't realize your insurance. Have you noticed your insurance, car insurance rates, if you live in the United States, how much they've gone up in the past 2 years, 3 years? Like almost doubling every year. Do you know why? It's because of the number of uninsured and underinsured people driving cars, smashing cars. They just leave them there with no insurance, go buy a new car, do the same thing. You know? Yeah, it's crazy. Sex offenders get less time than drug dealers. I don't think drugs should be illegal. I think it should be if an adult wants to. If adults want to do drugs, let them do drugs. It's just not out on the street, not in public. Do what you want at home, but don't give it to kids. If you give drugs to kids, you go to jail. But I don't know. Well, I'm kind of libertarian on that sense. But Santos did not just merely fake donor support, he invented donors, using the identities and financial information of real people. Santos charged their credit cards repeatedly, funneling the proceeds into his campaign. So Santos, yes, less government is good. Always less government. There shouldn't be. We have way too much government. Way too much government. Government should stay the hell out of people's lives. Government shouldn't be doing all this stuff. Really, if you think about what the government, if you look back to, let's say, the turn of the 19th century, like right at, 1899 to 1900, before, when government was really small, before there was income tax, before there was any central bank, before there was a standing army, the government ran, the federal government ran on tariffs only and income. There was no taxation. It ran fine. Everything was paid for. And there was a massive amount of charity that existed in the country. Not in the sense that you would think, like that you commonly think today of these charities, these NGOs and charities that basically steal all the money for themselves. No, there was guilds that operated. It was the guild system that operated all around the country to help people who needed, doctors, who needed lawyers, who needed any type of work. There was a guild, and you became a member of the guild, and the guild helped people. And these guilds also worked in conjunction with other, like the Order of the Eagles, the Order of the Elks Lodge, the Freemasons, and all these different groups around the country before the guild confiscation, exactly calories. And everything functioned great. But then these groups started forming. The American Medical Association, where they didn't want these guilds to be able to do what they were doing because they said doctors couldn't survive. Because a guild doctor, that you paid a monthly fee of $20 or something, or whatever it was. It was very little. You paid a fee every month to this doctor, and then you and your family got to go see the doctor whenever you were sick. That was it. It wasn't insurance. You just paid the doctor. It was sort of like insurance, but it wasn't really. But anyway, I went off on a tangent, but I hate to do that. But things were different, and who knows? Now we have a bunch of crap filling our houses, and nothing lasts, and it breaks constantly. We're constantly replacing it. We always want the latest, newest, greatest thing, when it should be more worried about what happens when we're gone. I don't know. Anyway, that was pretty deep. Nearly a dozen people have been victimized, including individuals least capable of defending themselves. One woman suffering from brain damage had thousands of dollars withdrawn without her consent. Two elderly men in their 80s, each suffering from dementia, had their identity stolen in their car shirt. Well, here's the thing. These two men, and I'm not saying he didn't do this at all, but how do we know that the two guys with dementia didn't actually donate and they just forgot? I'm not a boomer. I'm Gen X. But maybe the guys with dementia donated the money and just forgot, or didn't really. They had their identity stolen. These are not passive accounting errors or clerical mistakes. They were acts of intimate, cold exploitation. Santos knew these people, spoke to them, thanked them for the support, then used their vulnerability against them. How do we know? I don't know. In one egregious instance, a donor who had already given the legal maximum found his credit card charged an additional $15,800 without authorization. Santos disguised his theft by attributing the funds to fabricated family members. In his FEC reports, the maneuver that allowed him to continue the ruse while avoiding contribution limits. In another, he charged $12,000 to a donor's account and deposited the majority to his personal bank account. That's where I think he went wrong. Is when you take money, put your personal account. Because if it was strictly the campaign money, I don't know. campaign and candidacy and public service were all secondary to his lifestyle. Perhaps the most hypocritical of Santos' fraud involved the pandemic. In 2020, he applied for and received over 24,000 unemployment benefits from the state of New York. At this time, he was gainfully employed as a regional director at the Florida-based investment firm, earning over $128,000 a year. He did not miss a paycheck. He was not laid off, and he did not qualify. And yet each week, he falsely certified his jobless status, drawing taxpayer-funded aid designed for those hit hardest by COVID-19, the unemployed and the underemployed. Those financially desperate and an act of gall would be laughable if it weren't so despicable. Santos later sponsored legislation in Congress to crack down on pandemic unemployment fraud. The man who stole from the system claimed he would reform it. Well, it's pretty much what the politicians do all the time. They start telling you what the problem is. Yeah, it sounds pretty despicable what he did. He claimed to have earned, in order to section up there, Santos lied as congressional financial disclosure forms. Forms meant to ensure transparency. He claimed to have earned $750K in salary from a private company that paid him nothing. He reported receiving $1 to $5 million in dividends that never existed. Declared hundreds of thousands of bank holdings when in fact his accounts were often in low thousands, if not lower. In reality, his only actual income came from the investment firm and the unemployment checks he falsely obtained. The lies were not incidental. They were comprehensive, deliberate, and aimed at creating the illusion of wealth and competence. Even more brazenly, Santos fabricated an independent expenditure group, supposed political action committee called Redstone Strategies. He solicited 2 donors for $25,000 each, promising that the funds would be used for media buys and campaign efforts. They were not. Santos transferred the money into accounts he controlled and spent it on Ferragamo, Hermes, Botox, and credit card bills. This was not merely unethical, it was embezzlement. And it sounds pretty bad. It was theft, it was fraud perpetrated with full knowledge and intent. Okay, so he sounds like a scumbag. And Santos stole or misappropriated approximately, he stole $578,000. Got 8 years. The guy who stole $110 million got 5 years. So is someone getting treated differently, some more harshly? That's all I'm saying. Court ordered him to pay $372,000 in restitution, to forfeit an additional $200,000. These numbers were not speculative; they were calculated against real losses to real people, individuals whose credit was damaged, whose money was siphoned away, whose trust was obliterated. His 87-month sentence, or just over 7 years, was not an outlier in the federal system. It was a typical penny for this kind of sprawling, malicious financial fraud. Defendants with no political profile who defrauded the government or private individuals out of hundreds of thousands of dollars routinely receive similar sentences. Well, then why did the guy who defrauded the government out of $110 million only get 5 years? But Santos was a congressman did not result in him being singled out. If anything, it spared him of scrutiny longer than he deserved. There's no serious argument for clemency here. Clemency is for excess, for injustice, for punishment that outstrips the wrongdoing. Clemency is not for grifters who fake their way into office by stealing from pensioners and pandemic relief funds. One does not defend George Santos by invoking freedom, fairness, or limited government. To the contrary, every dollar Santos stole weakened the legitimacy of our electoral system, diverted support for legitimate candidates, and degraded the moral clarity conservatives must offer in a dishonest age. The true conservative position is to say plainly, this man is a crook. Yeah, he's a crook, but yeah, I don't know. He was a drag queen too, so I don't know what his drag name was, but I don't. All I'm saying is he should go to jail. He's a scumbag, and he's more than likely a complete grifter and a fraud, and was only pretending to be conservative to get into office. My point is that I don't like to see the disparity of sentences. Like they claim, yes, J. Edgar Hoover was a cross-dresser. Yeah. But that this is common to get this kind of 87 months or whatever for stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars. We just saw a story of a guy who stole $110 million and got 5 years. Yes, Santos was charismatic. Yes, he had a knack for commanding attention. And yes, in another life, with honesty and principle, he might have served well. But we do not excuse embezzlement because the embezzler is clever. We do not overlook theft because the thief is funny. Our movement has spent decades insisting that character matters. Well, it depends on how funny they are. I mean, if they're really, really funny, we'll forgive a lot of things. I mean, a lot of people forgave Bill Cosby because he was... I'm just kidding. No one forgave Bill Cosby. That was a joke. If it's still true, then George Santos is not a man to be platformed or pitied. He's a cautionary tale. Some will argue that Santos' sentence was harsh. Perhaps. But that's not a reason to pardon him. Wait a minute. You said earlier that his sentence wasn't harsh, that it was exactly in line with every other sentence. But now you're admitting it was harsh. And now we're saying that's not a reason to pardon him. But that's one of the reasons listed earlier that you said would be a reason to pardon or commute somebody's sentence if it was harsh or excessive. It is a reason to scrutinize sentencing guidelines for all nonviolent financial offenders. Santos should be treated like any other fraudster, no worse, no better. And by that measure, he has been. No, he hasn't. I showed you. He has not. Others say we should forgive him because the media was against him, but the media is against every Republican. What makes our side different is our insistence on personal responsibility. Yeah, I also saw there's another congresswoman who's currently serving in Congress. She's a congresswoman who stole $5 million from her firm and put it in her own bank account and used it. And she's still in Congress and she hasn't been booted out. So just saying. He pled guilty. He's being punished in accordance with the law. He's not a martyr. He's a criminal. Those who now seek to rebrand him as a political prisoner or conservative folk hero are doing damage not only to the movement, but to the truth. That matters. Or if we cannot call theft what it is, we cannot call fraud what it is, we cannot reject the normalization of criminality in our own ranks, then we are not a movement of principle. We are just another racket. Okay. I don't know. You know, the fire theft money, that's pretty crazy. $800 million is missing. That they don't know, that just got passed from NGO to NGO to different charity, and they all sucked their money off the top. Seriously, media just meant Bill Clinton as the Epstein files, no victims. Well, we'll see what happens with that. Like, if Ghislaine Maxwell can give up the goods on people, like supposedly she gave up 100 names of people that were on the island participating in stuff, I say they got to let her go. Personally, I think they probably screwed up because she had immunity, and they all admitted she had immunity, but then because of some weird rule in New York said, we don't honor immunity given in other jurisdictions, but it's the federal government. So I think they might have screwed up, so I think the case should go to the Supreme Court. I think it should have been tossed, but that's a technicality type of thing, but I think if she gives up people, you let her go. Yeah, what about 10% for the big guy? You know, that was a serious thing, and it was real. We do have a Hunter Biden story today. We get there. All right, on to the next story. This is going to be like as a kind of a oldie but a goodie that we keep going into. House Intel Rep Chair Rick Crawford reveals shocking details from classified report highlighting political bias in the intelligence community. This is my shocked face. Really? Really? Political bias in the intel community? Like, didn't know that. I gotta look at something. Hold on a second. Molly Hemingway breaks down this week's explosive news, exposing the truth behind the Russian collusion hoax and the media's complicity. This was supposed to be the next one, and
back to 2016 is the Obama administration hid intelligence showing that Russia's meddling in the 2016 election was no big deal. They suppressed that because they didn't want Donald Trump to know about it. Then they immediately began leaking to the Washington Post and to the New York Times false things that weren't true, the opposite, that Russia had conspired with Trump to steal the election. And the Washington Post and New York Times, when they were asked to publish these things that were not true, they just went ahead and did it. They took the word of John Brennan and other sources like that who had made these false claims. Then the Obama administration manufactures a completely fake intelligence assessment, again with this claim that Russia had conspired with Trump to steal the election, and they leak that to the media as well. Well, when they were receiving these leaks, the media did whatever these people wanted. They pushed this absolutely delusional conspiracy theory for years. And now that we know that, and it was a fake story, now that we know the real story, and the real story is shocking. The Obama administration suppressed real intelligence, and then they manufactured fake intelligence for the purpose of undermining a legitimately elected administration. The media are hiding it. And why? Because they were complicit in the crimes that were committed. They can't very well report what actually happened because the whole conspiracy would have gone nowhere if the media hadn't been so willing to just republish these lies from Obama officials.
That would drive him insane to give Trump back 4 more years. That would drive him insane. But it's not going to happen. It's not possible to get that done. So this shocking details from declassified report. Arrest Obama for treason, let the chips fall, equal opportunity crime and cover-ups. If you can arrest them, if you can indict them in Florida, you can arrest them. Anywhere else would be a waste of time. But Florida, oh, buddy, you might have some problems. Congressman Rick Crawford, the House Intelligence Committee chairman, reveals shocking insight from a newly declassified report. He discussed the implications of the findings, the roles of political bias and intelligence, the significance of accountability within the intelligence community. Mass yeah, we got that. There's Trump saying, oh, Inspector Bonus, the terrorist. Yes. Come on, where's the rest of the story? Where is the rest of the story? That's it? That's the story? How is that the story? How is that the story? That's ridiculous. Intelligence report shock what Congress found about Trump Russia. Just shocking. Shocking. Going to be another one of these where it's just a story. Shocking. Going to be. Congressman Rick Crawford, the House Intelligence Committee chair, reveals the shocking insights from a newly classified report. Discussing. Why do I feel like I just read this? Like it's the same thing. Yeah, that's her. That's the one. Representative Sheila Chiffis McCormick is part of the case where the Florida Department of Emergency Management was asking her to return $5.7 million that was overpaid to Trinity Healthcare Services when she was CEO. Yeah, she took the money directly out of the firm and just paid it to herself and said that she increased her salary by that amount, by $6 million that year. And she used that to run for Congress. So the fact that she has not been removed from Congress tells you everything you need to know about Congress. That how many people from the CIA have been fired so far? Yeah, but you say presidential immunity, Supreme Court made a bad call. They didn't declare there was blanket immunity. I thought they were going to go a lot further with the immunity, but attempted coups are not covered under the presidential immunity. I mean, maybe, I don't know. If he could colorably say he was acting as presidential authority, I don't know. I think you got to fight it out though. You got to take it to court. You got to let let it play out in court. You don't just assume. You don't just say, well, we can't even try, because they know what there was a ton of everything that they did to Trump basically was very suspect, highly legally suspect, and a lot of it got knocked down later, but it didn't stop him from doing it. He discussed the implications of the findings, the role of political bias intelligence, the significant role of accountability within the intelligence community. FBI whistleblower Steve Friend shares his insights on the current state of the FBI and its challenges. Steve discusses the agency's struggles with accountability and implications of selective investigations and the targeting of concerned parents at school board meetings. He reflects on his own journey, speaking out against wrongdoing and personal costs associated with whistleblowing. Bobby Charles, a leading candidate for governor of Maine, shares his vision for the state and challenges it to faces, from rising drug trafficking and soaring property taxes. Bobby discusses the pressing issues that have Mainers concerned. With a strong endorsement from former Attorney General Ed Meese, Bobby outlines his plans to restore hope and leadership in Maine. Well, I guess that's the end of that. Well, that's what they say. Treason. Yeah, third parties on a great every day, no more boomers terminals. The problem with a third party at this point is that it's only any third party is gonna only help the Democrats win and hold power, and then you're screwed. What needs to happen is you need to actually take over the Republican Party from the inside. I mean, you have people, look at Rand Paul and Thomas Massie, they're libertarians and they're inside the Republican Party. You need to get libertarians to come into the party to take seats away, and to have a caucus in the party, just like there's parties, like that's what they really should be doing. Is like, if Elon Musk really wants to change the system and really wants to make change, he should be funding primaries against Republicans and Democrats. That's what he should be doing, primarying them with people, finding people he wants and primarying them. I mean, he could primary wackadoo leftist Democrats with reasonable Democrats, and he could primary rhino phony Republicans with actual conservative Republicans, libertarian, Republicans that will actually MAGA people that will actually be populist and do what the people want. Fox just posted his column on the usual suspects emerging from the declassified documents on the Russian collusion investigation. The public is finally learning the details of what may be the greatest political hoax in history. That guy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The previously secreted documents released by DNA Gabbard prove that John Brennan repeatedly lied when, among other things, he denied the Steele dossier was part of the CIA assessment on Russiagate. No. I'm not talking about Elon as a candidate. I'm talking about Elon could use his money to back candidates that actually could do some stuff. Like, he's talking about this Freedom Party or America Party or whatever. That's just a ticket to having the Democrats running the whole, both the Senate and the House. He needs to primary people. He needs to go do what he said he was going to primary people. He needs to do it. That's what he needs to do. He needs to fund primaries. He needs to find candidates that are real honest people. People like Massey, people like Rand Paul, people like Mike Lee, people like Byron Donalds, people like Matt Gaetz, people like that, and fund them, get them in there. That's my opinion. I don't know. I must be upsetting people because it dropped from 80 to 60 people watching. It might piss Trump off. I don't know. But it's, it is what it is. Here's how the New York Times whitewashes the documents and explains the narrative away. It's, Mr. Brennan has publicly said his Steele dossier material was not incorporated or used in the assessment itself because of CIA's concerns. In 2017, he told Congress the dossier was not in any way used for the basis of the intelligence community assessment that was done. Newly disclosed material compilates that narrative. For one, it showed that Mr. Brennan internally defended appending a summary of the dossier to the assessment after CIA and us requested the compromise too. For another, the material was revealed to be the classified version of the assessment, alerting readers to the existence of the annex. It did so in a fourth bullet point under the judgment that Mr. Putin aspired to help Trump win the Congress. So he lied. Chip Roy is a good guy too. I like Chip Roy. There's another. What's his? Man, there's this other guy. There's quite a few. There's quite a few Republicans that kind of stay like congressmen that stay under the radar. I don't have a problem with Massey. Massey has what's called convictions. Massey is wildly popular in his district. I don't live in his district of Kentucky. So I don't have a choice about Massey. But I wouldn't have any problem with Massey being a senator from Kentucky. But it's not my decision. I don't live in Kentucky. But I think the Kentucky, it's going to be that guy Jennings is going to be the guy Scott Jennings from CNN, I think, is going to run for Senate in Kentucky. But Massey is widely popular in his district. He's, he represents the Hill people in Kentucky, and they're very independent. And they don't like government. They want government to leave them alone, and that's what Massey stands for: is get out of my life, government, leave me alone. Do you really think if George Washington as president conspired with Britain against the nation, he wouldn't have been charged with treason? I don't know. Because there's a lot. Honestly, we live in a system where for 4 years, the president is basically a king. That's the bottom line. His power is reduced by what's laid out in the Constitution, the powers that are given to Congress, and the powers that are given to the judiciary branch. But pretty much the power of the president, the executive, is known, and it is what it is. So if the president wants to talk to anything, the president. So here, you're saying gives information to the British. If the president decides something is not classified, if he just says, no, I can tell who I want, by the president doing that action, it's declassified, he could tell the information to anybody he wants. So technically, it wouldn't be treason, would it? Because, anyway, I don't know. We're going down rabbit holes. Yeah. So basically, there is no crime called perjury anymore. It's just the exact opposite thing you testified, complicating your narrative. What a nice way to have a media describe the lies you got caught telling a CI director. Docs complicate Brennan's narrative. The New York Times details multiple lies revealed by Gabbard's release, but frames it as they're being exaggerated. Jonathan Turley, the key players in the Russia collusion hoax and why they're sweating now. Let's see. Is this going to actually play the ad or play the thing, or is it going to be?
This crime against a Jewish community will not go unpunished.
What is this? What is this an ad for? Guns and Moses? What?
How do you think that the Supreme Court's ruling that benefited you on presidential immunity would apply to former President Barack Obama and what you're accusing him of doing?
It probably helps him a lot. He's done criminal acts, there's no question about it. But he has immunity, and it probably helps him a lot.
A trade agreement you're looking to find too.
He owes me big.
President Trump saying former President Obama could benefit from Trump's own fight for presidential immunity. Now that Obama is...
Okay. There we go. So Obama had the right to tell the IC the right to report any way he wanted it written. Did he have the right to do that to undermine an incoming president? I didn't say he had the right to do it. I'm just saying that you're getting into like really strange things. Like, if you, I guess you could say that he committed a crime of defrauding the U.S. government or defrauding the American people. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think Asians in name only is a AINO, ANOs. I mean, Massey has never voted to like Massey completely supports the Second Amendment. He's multiple times put bills forward to repeal the NFA and the GCA. So I mean, that to me alone makes me say I like him. Yeah, president can do whatever he wants. His actions must always be constitutional because that's where his power comes from. That's true. Must be constitutional. The release of the classified material shed new light on the creation of the Russia collusion investigation. Many names it was crushing familiar. Indeed, Congress is moving to round up the usual suspects in light of the new revelations. It's a story of the real Russian conspiracy, how high-ranking officials in the Obama administration ceded the false claim that help of an eager, unquestioning press corps. Not surprisingly, the media, which spent years repeating the false Russian collusion claims, is doing a full-court press to kill the story. Yet many of these key figures are retained in counsel in anticipation of unfolding investigations. Many previously secured contracts with MSNBC or CNN or book deals where they doubled down on the false claims detailed in these new documents. Here are just a few of the usual suspects. John Brennan, former CIA director. Brennan is arguably most at risk in the new disclosures, which appear to be contradictions to prior testimony before Congress. May 23, 2017, Brennan testified the infamous Steele dossier wasn't part of the corpus of the intelligence information that we had. It was not in any way used in the basis for the intelligence community assessments that was done. However, the new material shows that Brennan was a key figure insisting on the inclusion of the Steele dossier in the intelligence assessment, suggesting that the Russians did influence the election in favor of Trump. Brennan not only intervened to include the dossier, but overruled the CIA's two most senior Russia experts who said it did not meet even the most basic trade cash standards. One analyst recounted how Brennan refused to remove it, and when confronted with the dossier's main flaws, responded, "Yeah, but doesn't it ring true? Kind of feels true to me." Notably, it was Brennan who briefed Obama in 2016 about Hillary Clinton's plan to create a Russian conspiracy to vilify Donald Trump by stirring up a scandal claiming interference by the Russian security services. Months later, it would be Brennan who actively incorporated the dossier secretly funded by the Clintons' campaign. James Clapper. Let's see. Clapper's lied to Congress on numerous occasions and has not been prosecuted. He's the guy who said they don't spy on Americans willingly or wittingly or something. Former DNI under Obama is expecting the worst and said he's already lawyered up. Clapper was in a briefing in 2016 when Obama told that Clinton was planning to create the Russian conspiracy narrative. In November, Clapper received an assessment from the intelligence community that Russia was probably not trying to influence the election using cyber means. He also received talking points from staff on December 7th that foreign adversaries did not use cyber attacks on election infrastructure to alter the U.S. presidential election outcomes. December 9, 2016, another report stated the Russian and criminal actors did not impact recent U.S. election results by conducting malicious cyber activities against election infrastructure. The President Daily Brief, PDB, was scheduled to be published on December 9th. Clapper's office stopped its publication based on some new guidance. Clapper later joined Obama with Brennan, Susan Rice, John Kerry, and Loretta Lynch, Andrew McCabe, and others in a meeting where a new assessment was ordered that would detail tools Moscow used and actions it took to influence the election. Brennan then reportedly handpicked the analysts who seemed to flip the earlier assessment without any credible intelligence. 2018 interview with the Harvard Gazette, Clapper continued to spread the false narrative, referring to the high-confidence judgment that Putin directly ordered the hacking and election interference. I think they, the Russians, actually influenced the outcome. Clapper later added to his tarnished legacy by signing the letter with more than 50 former intelligence officials dismissing the Hunter Biden laptop story before the 2020 presidential election and having the hallmarks of Russian disinformation. James Comey, former FBI director. James Comey would use his contrived intelligence to greenlight the investigations that overwhelmed the first Trump term. The FBI was aware early that the Steele dossier was unreliable political hit job funded by the Clinton campaign. Moreover, the CIA told the FBI that Trump associate Carter Page was a U.S. intelligence asset, not a Russian spy. The FBI ignored such countervailing intelligence, violated protocols, and lied to a federal court to maintain the Russian investigation. In an interview with Fox Brett Baier, Comey was asked about the lack of evidence of the Russian collusion. Comey dismissed the question by saying, collusion is not a word that I'm familiar with. Putting aside the lunacy of the statement, Comey then says, the question is whether Americans were in cahoots with foreign intelligence activities. It appears cahoots is the word he's familiar with, and then denied knowing. In April 2018, the Clinton campaign had funded the report. Comey routinely seems unfamiliar with terms or facts that contradict his investigating Trump, even years later. Comey repeatedly testified to a lack of memory on key decisions made in the Russian investigation. However, documents show that it was Comey who pushed back on a planned statement by Clapper stating that they had not determined the dossier to be reliable. Andrew McCabe. Andrew McCabe, now CNN contributor, was fired after career Justice Department found that the former acting FBI director not only lied to investigators but deserved to be fired. That recommendation was reportedly embraced by career officials in the Inspector General's office. He was accused of lying 4 times, including twice under oath. Not surprisingly, McCabe makes appearances in new disclosures. He is not only present at the critical meetings, but also appears that McCabe was allegedly responsible for blocking congressional investigators from interviewing the FBI analysts who supported Brennan and drafters of the controversial ICA. Congress alleged that at least 30 FBI employees associated with the dossier were walled off by McCabe. These and other names are not new, as the media was spreading the false narrative of Russian collusion. Many of these figures knew that there was no evidence of such collusion. They said nothing. Indeed, after Obama ordered a new assessment effectively flipping the conclusions of the earlier assessment, anonymous sources leaked the false narrative to the media, which eagerly ran the story. With the leaks of the false narrative rampant, none of the actual facts were leaked to the media. In the meantime, figures like Adam Smith, now a Democrat senator from California, continued to claim, even after Special Counsel Mueller rejected evidence of collusion, that he had secret evidence to the contrary in the House Intelligence Committee. Schiff never revealed that evidence, and the public now knows that the intelligence community rejected the collusion claims from the outset. The public is now learning that the real Russian conspiracy and its key players, it was the most infamous and successful political hit job in history. The same media that pushed the false claims are now again imposing new blackouts as they did with the Hunter Biden laptop. The problem is that the truth, like water, tends to find a way out. That trickle just turned into a flood for the architects of the Russian collusion hoax. This new report on the Russian intelligence Russian interference doesn't show what Trump says it shows. The administration claims are overblown, but newly declassified information provides some messy details about the January 7th, 2017 intelligence assessment. This is from the New York Times. The New York Times basically doing a whitewash of it. And the unclassified version was made public. Yeah. So anyway, they're saying it's overblown. There's some messy stuff there. The messy details about the assessment was hurried and produced by Obama's final months, but nothing that's just overstated. Just problems. Oh, and then there's this part of the story. It says President Trump considered visiting CIA headquarters before 2020 election to retrieve explosive report locked in a gun safe inside a vault that exposed Brennan's ICA on a Russian as a fraud. There's 5 crucial facts from the House Intel report on 2016 Russian interference. The Director of National Intelligence did an excellent service for our nation this week when she released a declassified version of a critical September 2020 House Intelligence Committee staff report on a major 2017 intelligence report known as the Intelligence Community Assessment ICA titled Russia's Influence Campaign Targeting the 2016 U.S. Presidential Election. Gabbard's decision came after years of tug-of-war over the release of the report between Republican members of Congress who believe it provides critical information that the Russian collusion hoax and the involvement of the Obama officials and the U.S. intelligence community versus Democrat congressmen and deep state intelligence officials who have desperately tried to hide the report from the American public. Press accounts have reported that most of the essential details of the House report, such as how it was rushed out of President Obama's orders, are published before Trump's inauguration. Media stories have also suggested how substandard intelligence was used to justify its findings, that Russia meddled in the election to help Trump win, that bad intelligence was included into the orders of CIA Director John Brennan over the similar objections of senior CIA analysts. Media has also reported that the House Intelligence Report finding that a handpicked group of 5 analysts wrote the ICA and it was not adequately vetted by U.S. intelligence agencies and analysts. It's also clear that the House report that numerous statements by Brennan denying it, the fraudulent Steele dossier, was heavily used in the ICA. Cool. The Dems fight Gabbard's disclosure with faulty Senate report that claims Steele dossier wasn't in the ICA. Oh, hey, Hank. Have a great night. Thanks for stopping by. Please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. You're welcome. All right, Hank. Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying to catch up. I'm a little behind from where I wanted to be. Number of stories at this time. We're 2 hours in, and I'm not where I wanted to be with the number of stories. I'll try to get through the stories a little faster here. Dems fight Gabbard's disclosure with faulty Senate report claims Steele dossier wasn't in the ICA. A host of top Democrats, including former President Barack Obama, are relying on a 2020 Senate Intelligence Committee report in an effort to defend themselves against a new intelligence evidence declassified by Trump intelligence chief Tulsi Gabbard. The Senate report is flawed. It includes a since discredited claim that the Steele dossier was not used in and did not inform the 2016 U.S. intelligence community assessment. Last week, Gabbard sent a declassified evidence to the Justice Department that she dubbed a treasonous conspiracy related to the U.S. intelligence officials' alleged politicizing intelligence related to the Russian and the 2016 election. Obama was joined by the Democrat ranking members of both Senate and House Intelligence Committee and former Obama DNI Clapper, who helped lead the formulation of the ICA and pointing to the bipartisan Senate Intel Panel's 2020 report to dispute Gabbard's claim. The Senate Intelligence Committee concluded in a heavily redacted report in April and August that British ex-spy Christopher Steele's bogus anti-Trump dossier was not used in the body of the ICA, that the dossier claims were not used to underpin any of their findings. The conclusion was debunked by a newly declassified House Intelligence Committee report, by a recent ICA review that contradicted by a public House Intel report and other declassified records. The Senate Committee's April 2020 report, which focused on the ICA, was wrongly suggested that Obama CIA Director Brennan had opposed including the dossier in the ICA, while the newly declassified House report and recent CIA review both include testimonial evidence that Brennan had in fact fought to include the dossier claims in the assessment over the objections from top CIA analysts. CIA Director John Ratcliffe sent a criminal referral on Brennan to the FBI following the CIA Lessons Learned review earlier in July. Oh, well, thank you for stopping by. The Senate Intelligence Committee's 4th volume of its report on Russian meddling in the 2016 election, released in April 2020, was titled Review of Intelligence Community Assessment. The report stated the committee found that the information provided by Christopher Steele was not used in the body of the ICA or to support any of its analytical judgments. The Senate panel's 5th volume of Russia, released in August 2020, also asserted that dossier material was not used in the ICA and did not contribute to its finding. The repeated conclusion is known to be false. The 2016 ICA was written at the direction of President Obama and largely overseen by Brendan Clapper and since fired FBI Director Comey. It was finished in December 2016 with a publicly declassified version released in early 2017 and more extensive classified version declassified and released last week. Comey and former FBI Director Andrew McCabe had pushed in December 2016 to include Steele's debunked dossier in a 2016 ICA on alleged Russian meddling. The dossier was included in an annex to the assessment and was directly referred to the most highly classified version of the ICA. With the newly declassified House report and the recent CIA review, sharply criticized Brennan for allegedly joining with these anti-Trump forces in the FBI pushing to include Steele's anti-Trump dossier in the 2016 ICA over objections of Russian experts in the Obama administration intelligence community. Steele, a former MI6 agent, was hired in 2016 by the opposition research firm Fusion GPS and was paid by the Clinton campaign lawyer Mark Elias. The dossier was used by the FBI to obtain FISA warrants against Trump campaign officials, and evidence continues to emerge about how it was included in the ICA and the Russians in the 2016 election. The Clinton campaign and Democrat National Committee were later fined by the Federal Election Committee for failing to disclose what they paid for the Fusion GPS report. A spokesperson for Obama released a statement on Tuesday in response to Gabbard's report from last week, where he sought to deny Gabbard's claim, pointing to the 2020 Senate report. Out of respect for the office of the presidency, our office does not normally dignify the constant nonsense and misinformation flowing out of this White House with a response, but these claims are outrageous enough to merit one. These bizarre allegations are ridiculous and a weak attempt at distraction. Nothing in this document issued last week undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the 2016 presidential election, but did not successfully manipulate any votes. These findings were affirmed in a 2020 report by the bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee, led by then Chairman Marco Rubio. Senator Mark Warman, vice chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee at the time of the Senate report in question, also pointed to the committee's 2020 report defending the December 2016 ICI and Russian meddling. And he tweeted last week that sadly not surprising that Deanna Gravin, who promised to politicize the intelligence community, is once again weaponizing her position to amplify the president's election conspiracy nonsense. Warner on Wednesday again tweeted the bipartisan unanimous finding of the Senate Intelligence Committee after years of painstaking investigation, more than 200 witness interviews, and millions of documents was that Russia launched a large-scale influence campaign in the 2016 election in order to help then-candidate Trump. It's a lie. If it's a date that ends in Y, Donald Trump desperately wants to change the subject, so Discrimination is rehashing decades-old false claims about the Obama administration. Few episodes in our nation's history have been investigated as thoroughly as the Intelligence Committee warning in 2016 that Russia was interfering in the election. House Intelligence Committee ranking member Jim Hines, D. from Connecticut, tweeted, "While everyone has the right to critique the steps the IC leaders took to immense pressure, every legitimate investigation, including bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee investigation, found no evidence of politicization and endorsed the findings. Anyone claiming there was no evidence of politicization should be taken outside and flogged." Hines went on to CBS Face the Nation, where he said the Senate committee, led by Marco Rubio, and Republican, now Secretary of State, found unanimously that Russia meddled in the election to try to assist Donald Trump. I do not need to mention that the Senate Intelligence Committee did an exhaustive examination of the total Russian engagement and focusing, and they found it too. And a redacted version of the report were released. Rubio is indeed the current Secretary of State, but although he was a Senate Intelligence Committee member, he was not the leading Senate committee in April 2020 when the ICA focus report was released. Former Senator Richard Burr became the intelligence chairman in January 2015. Warner became the vice chair in 2016. After Trump's victory, Burr stepped aside from the chairmanship, and Rubio became acting chair in May 2020. After the fourth volume had been released, but before the fifth and final volume was issued in 2021. Other GOP members of the Senate panel back in 2020 have released statements in recent days criticizing intelligence community in wake of declassified revelations about the ICA. Tom Cotton last week said it's clear that the biggest purveyors of disinformation in the 2016 campaign were Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and John Brennan, in response to a tweet from Gabbard about the creation of the hoax. John Cornyn on Thursday tweeted that he was urging Pambani to appoint a special counsel. No, do not appoint a special counsel. Special counsel does nothing but cause problems. They'll slow walk everything. It'll take 4 years and nothing will happen. Cornyn also said, while we know there was zero evidence of collusion, it's become more evident that the entire Russia collusion hoax was fabricated by the Obama administration to subvert the will of the American people. Rubio, Cotton, and Cornyn released a statement accompanying the release of the fifth volume of the Senate report in August, where the senator said the committee found no evidence that then-candidate Trump or his campaign colluded with the Russian government in an effort to meddle in the election. More than 3 years of investigating by the committee, we can now say with no doubt there was no collusion. The Obama team, now under legal scrutiny, are hoping to Rubio's earlier imprimatur somehow blesses their tainted reports. The 2020 House Intelligence Committee report revealed that despite repeated denials, earlier IC on Russian election spending unambiguously relied on the Steele dossier when crafting the widespread narrative that Vladimir Putin inspired to help Trump. The classification of the 2020 House report critiqued the high confidence assessment of the FBI and CIA that Putin had aspired to help Trump win in 2016 and added that the judgment that Putin developed a clear preference for candidate Trump inspired to help his chances of victory failed to adhere to the agency standards of analysis. In other words, only the recent public learned that the report blessed by Rubio was in fact a house of straw. Newly Declassified report includes strong evidence that ICA directly cited the Steele dossier when the ICA argued that Putin had aspired to help Trump win. The Newly Declassified analysis states the contradicting claims made by intelligence apparatus both then and now. The dossier was referenced in the ICA main body text, further detailed in a 2-page CIA annex. Flawed ICA stated that we assessed the Trump Russian influence campaign inspired to help Trump's chances of victory in the 2016 election. The most highly classified version of the ICA was followed by 4 bullets of supporting evidence. In the House Declassified version stated that the 4th bullet referred the reader to the detailed summary and analysis of the dossier. The ICA stated for additional reporting on Russian plans and intentions, please see Annex A, additional reporting for the FBI source on Russian influence, a reference to the Steele dossier. The House report stated that by devoting 2 pages of the text summarizing the dossier, the highly profile assessment intended for the president and the president-elect, the credibility of the dossier reports that senior intelligence officials strenuously fought the demands of former FBI Director James Comey and other intelligence chiefs to include the false and unverified Steele dossier. Based solely on what we do know, my bottom line is that unless the FBI is prepared to provide much better sourcing, I believe this should not be included in the paper one official wrote, caps and all. Even though the dossier information was unclassified, it was omitted from both the top secret version of the ICA released for Congress and the unclassified public release version. The House report said by relegating the dossier text to only the highest classified version, authors were better able to shield the assessment from scrutiny since access to the ICA version was so limited. The classified House report said the ICA represented an unsourced sealed dossier and having been reliable intelligence reporting on Russian plans and intentions. The House report also said that the ICA referred to the dossier as Russian plans and intentions, falsely implying to high-level U.S. policymakers that the dossier had intelligence value for understanding Moscow's influence operations. In a now declassified 2018 Permanent Select Committee report on intelligence, Obama and subordinated propagated, including findings, and his subordinated propagated, including findings that intelligence community assessment judgments on Putin's strategies and just did not employ proper analytic tradecraft. Most notably, unambiguous statements when asked directly. None of these interviewed witnesses provided evidence of collusion, coordination, or conspiracy between Trump campaign and Russian government. That's right, no collusion. The director says, most transparent administration ever. Governor Michael Flynn says, this is total BS. The agency whitewashed a document released fairly recently. It fought for years to include the past few months in the release of the HPSCI document and JR when the DNI during Trump 45 could have released all of them before the 2020 election. Why not? Sorry, John. No brownie points for you on this one. I think it's disgusting. He's trying to take a victory like everybody knows the truth. He was the DNI and all this shit originally went down. Even with you, he didn't say a fucking peep. No, fuck this guy. DNI Tulsi Gabbard's new interview just went viral. She exposed the truth about Obama's 2016 election scheme. It wasn't just about Russia. It was about a coordinated coup attempt. Here's what you should know before the story gets buried. Director of National Intelligence declassified over 100 documents on the 2016 investigation. It includes irrefutable evidence that Obama administration officials directed intelligence agencies to create a false narrative after Trump victory. Obama convenes emergency special council meeting. Attendees Brennan, Clapper, Rice, McCabe, Lynch. Within hours, Clapper's assistant emails intelligence leaders create new assessment per president's orders. Here's the timeline. December 7th, talking points prepared. Stating foreign adversaries did not use cyber text to alter the election. Obama secret meeting December 9th. New assessment directly contradicts all prior findings. 4 months before the election, the Intelligence Committee consistently assessed Russia was probably not trying to influence the election by using cyber means, but Obama needed a different story, so they manufactured one. CIA Director Brennan forced inclusion of the accredited Steele dossier despite senior officials' objections. When confronted about its flaws, Brennan reportedly said yes, but it doesn't ring true. CIA officer testified DCIA refused to remove it and overruled their objections. Intelligence was deliberately suppressed, contradicted the narrative. Reliable sources showed Russian officials were planning for Clinton's victory. Other assessed neither Trump nor Clinton would respect Russian interests. A draft presidential daily brief from December 8th stated Russia did not impact recent U.S. elections. It was pulled hours before publication due to new guidance. The truth was literally suppressed in real time. ODNI whistleblower who worked for Clapper refused to participate. He was sidelined and cut out for not playing along. He tried to report through proper channels. Inspector General, Congress, DOJ never got calls back. They were not interested. The final Intelligence Committee assessment was created by only 5 analysts, unlike routine IC analysis. The entire conclusion rested on one scant, unclear, and unverified fragment from a substantive report. This became the foundation of years of investigation. This is irrefutable evidence that President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence assessment that they knew was false. She referred potential criminal charges to DOJ. DOJ confirmed receipt and announced a strike force to investigate. Pam Bondi said they'll investigate all the troubling disclosures fully and leave no stone unturned to justice. The protective shield around Obama's administration may be finally cracked, and all information represented direct quotes from Gabbard's statements of administrators. Classified documents available in DNA. Thanks for reading. DNI Gabbard has released new declassified documents revealing that the final days of the Obama administration plotted to hamper the incoming Trump administration with a phony Russian collusion narrative. Here are 3 verifiable takeaways from the documents. Gabbard releases more Russian documents to accuse Obama of manufacturing intelligence. The Steele dossier played a role in the 2017 intelligence assessment. Multiple senior CIA officials argued against its inclusion because it failed to meet basic tradecraft standards. When confronted with these flaws, CIA Director John Brennan responded, but doesn't ring true and ordered the inclusion anyway. Even worse, CIA Director Brennan lied about his reliance on the dossier repeatedly. Here he is in 2018 telling me to press that it did not play any role whatsoever in the intelligence community assessment. He lied. Oh, thanks, Marlene. I am tired myself. That's why I didn't do a goal tonight, because I didn't think I could go longer than 2 hours. So we'll see. He said, "Oh, I didn't do anything. I'm Brennan, and I didn't present. I didn't present anything." So, news story. FIREAID is a total disaster. Looks like another Democrat and fire scam. $100 million is missing. Was supposed to go to the Los Angeles fire victims. Fires that with proper management would have never happened. Government news scum refused to release billions of gallons of water from Northern California and Pacific Northwest. What a difference it would have made. I have since overruled him and is now released all federal housing permits have been approved, and the city is years late. Get the fire victims their approvals to rebuild. Do it now. Where is the fire relief money, grifter? Gavin Newsom claims that Republicans are trying to steal the 2026 midterms. Anytime Republicans win, they call it stealing. Why do I suspect that it went something like this? My charity raised $1 million, and I'm going to take a salary of $500,000 to distribute it and give the other $500,000 to my friend who also wants to help. Friend, we got $500,000 from my friend's group who does the great work. I will distribute it to the people in need, but I'm going to pay back $400,000 towards my salary, and then give the $100,000 to a friend who wants to help. Second friend, we got $100,000 help in need, but I'm going to cover my salary because I'm running a charity. It's hard. Party for friends. They want to help raise money. In the end, they'll all end up with a group photo somewhere in LA. Everyone will pat themselves on the back and say they all delivered. Yeah, that's what happened. This FIREAID scam is going to be a big problem for Gavin Newsom, especially since it's not the first one of these charity concerts they put on. The politicians and presenters all claim that the money donated go directly to the people who are victims of the fires. They then hand out money to a bunch of nonprofits for all sorts of different reasons, such as a more humane and democratic society. Watch until the end of this video and see the types of NGOs that got the money this time. This is a huge scam.
Everyone, please go to fireaidla.org and give what you can. All of the money raised will go directly to people who need it now and towards long-term efforts to build the communities back.
That's how FIREAID sold itself to millions of viewers, a benefit concert for wildfire victims. Today, many have doubts.
I think they'd be very disappointed.
David Howard lost 2 homes in the Palisades.
I have not seen any benefit from the FIREAID money, nor have, and I'm very involved, nor have my friends and neighbors.
Go to the website and give what you can. All the money that's raised will go directly to people who need help in the short term and for the long-term effort to get this city back on its feet.
FIREAID's website says the concert raised $100 million for direct relief. Yet it told Fox LA, FIREAID does not have the capability to make direct payments to individuals, and that was never the plan. We partner directly with trusted local nonprofits to reach communities in need.
Did you think that you would actually get direct money?
I did, as with, I'm sure, most Altadenians. The FIREAID was for us, so we figured, where's the money? Where's it going?
So far, 75 of the $100 million went to 188 nonprofits, getting grants up to $500,000 each. Some are established, others are obscure. The Armory Center offers financial assistance to the arts community, but didn't respond when we asked how many artists it helped. Nor did the Sweet Relief Musicians Fund tell us how many musicians it assisted. The Instituto de Educación Popular del Sur de California also got FIREAID to create a more humane and democratic society by responding to the needs and problems of disenfranchised people. They declined to say how much they received or how it was spent, nor did Visión y Compromiso. It claims to reduce barriers to health education by using natural helpers to cultivate egalitarian relationships based on trust and respect. At least $6.5 million in donor money also went to LA County government programs. 2 groups told Fox they received money but never applied for it.
People need to go to jail. People need to go to jail. Spencer Pratt versus Gavin Newsom. FIREAID concert raised $100 million. It was distributed to NGOs. One of them was Newsom's wife, and the money given to her is now gone. It looks like Newsom stole it, and Spencer Pratt figured it out.
Turns out, the money. All right, well, I have unfortunately gone down this Spencer Pratt and Gavin Newsom rabbit hole, and I'm thoroughly entertained. For one, I think it's about time we give Spencer Pratt his flowers. The guy is a beauty. He's hilarious. I personally get a kick out of him, probably more than other people, because I have a very similar sense of humor to him. If you've seen some of my videos, I do like to post some rage-bait stuff because I thoroughly enjoy seeing the reaction from people and how ballistic they go for just like things that they see on TikTok. It's just, to me, it's hilarious. But anyways, I digress. So, situation with Spencer Pratt and Gavin Newsom. Basically, there was a concert at some point after the tragic LA wildfires, but $100 million was raised, and a lot of people who unfortunately did lose their homes during that event kind of sounded the alarm on this, that said, hey, we haven't seen a dime of this $100 million. Where did it go? Well, turns out the money was distributed to several different nonprofit organizations, and one of them happened to be owned and ran by yours truly, Gavin Newsom's wife. Well, an internet sleuth and Spencer Pratt kind of brought this to light. Gavin Newsom's camp is 100% denying it, but Spencer Pratt has receipts. And let me tell you, it does not look good for Gavin Newsom. I don't know if anybody knows exactly how much money he stole, but all indications are that he did steal and basically launder millions and millions of dollars that was there to help out victims of a national disaster.
Very, very, very interesting stuff there. It was a disaster distributed to NGOs. That's the exact point where it went sideways. NGOs are the newest version of a Ponzi scheme. Money goes in and it never seems to come out, nor do any measurable accomplishments. Exactly. Newsom stuck his wife in Marin County in $9 million house. He needs to pay the mortgage, kids, shit, and her designer handbags and can't afford it on a governor's salary. NGO is the way to go. Yep. Family buys a $9 million posh Marin County. Wow, look at that. Gavin Newsom. That's pretty good on a governor's salary. Before governor, he was was he mayor of L.A. before he was governor, or of San Francisco before he was governor, right? Yeah. Because we asked the Hollywood celebrities who helped raise $100 million to the L.A. fire brigades, what happened to the money? Katy Perry and her friends won't tell us. Wonder why.
Tuesday night, we blew the lid off the $100 million raised by rich celebrities for LA wildfire victims. Not a dime went directly to the fire victims. Instead, the cash went through a liberal nonprofit spin cycle. Victims who were featured in the fire and the concert say they're still waiting for help.
Okay, so at this point, you're still, in the process of getting.
Still in the process of getting.
Did you think that you would actually get direct money?
I did, as with, I'm sure, most Altadenians and those in Pacific Palisades, they also pretty much, the FIREAID was for us. So we figured that, well, where's the money? Where's it going?
President Trump just posted this on Truth Social. FIREAID is a total disaster. Looks like another Democrat.
Oh, Ellie.
$100 million is missing. Was supposed to go to the Los Angeles fire victims. Fires that, with proper management, would never have even happened. One of the nonprofits, the California Native Vote Project, which empowers Native Americans to vote, in a zip code with 16 Native Americans, has now given the money back. They coughed it up. Good. We reached out to the 19 celebrities who participated in the event, Billie Eilish, Pink, Katy Perry, Sting, Green Day, Dr. Dre, to see if they wanted an investigation. Have not heard back yet.
Ellie, thank you very much for the $5 Rumble rant. I didn't realize no one told me that there was a Rumble rant. That is, I will tell you, that is the first contribution I've gotten all night. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. Bothering me. Everyone involved in FIREAID could not have been more clear. The money was intended to go directly to wildfire victims. Disgusting. It is disgusting. Everyone, yeah. They all lie. Where is the money, Samuel L. Jackson? Where is the money, Green Day? Where is the money, Gavin Newsom? Here. Did we watch this whole thing again?
Everyone, please go to FIREAIDLA.org and give what you can. All of the money raised will go directly to people who need it now and towards long-term efforts to build the communities back.
That's how FIREAID sold itself to.
Yep, we listened to this already. Okay. We did. We listened to that already. All right. Well, the ghetto is in. Well, yeah, let me look. Hey, am I going to have to take my dog out? Thanks, Ellie, for the $5. The ghetto's in. Yes. All right, that's the one there. Everybody, it's in. I am going to take my dog out real quick. As you hear, she's barking. I have a 7-minute video that should play while I take her out. So it's about SCOTUS ruling 9-0 that discrimination is illegal. So I'll play it real quick. I'll be back in a minute. Yeah, it was a unanimous decision coming out of the Supreme Court. 9-0. So, it says the unanimous Supreme Court made it easier Tuesday to bring lawsuits over so-called reverse discrimination, siding with an Ohio woman who claims that she didn't get a job and then was then demoted because she was straight. The justice's decision affects lawsuits in 20 states and the District of Columbia, where, until now, courts had set a higher bar when members of a majority group, including those who are white and heterosexual, sue for discrimination. So, hello, Julio. Ketanji Brown Jackson wrote the opinion. So the new Supreme Court justice, the one that Biden put in, that doesn't know what a woman is, said she's not a biologist. At least she can tell that discrimination is wrong. She said that civil rights law draws no distinction between members of majority and minority groups. No, I mean, it just kind of makes sense, right? By establishing the same protections for every individual without regard to that individual's membership in a minority or majority group. Congress left no room for courts to impose special requirements on majority group plaintiffs alone, Jackson wrote. The court ruled in an appeal from Marlene Ames, who worked for the Ohio Department of Youth Services for more than 20 years. So this is what even makes it worse, because I'm wondering if this is going to have any implications on, there was tons of lawsuits over the years coming from different police, people suing police departments, cities, fire departments, because they kind of did stuff that would be considered discrimination. They said, oh, what color are you? Or what, are you a part of, are you, if you're female, if you're a minority, you get extra points on tests and stuff. And, that's basically discrimination. It is. So, says Thomas, joined by Neil Gorsuch, cited a brief filed by the American First Legal, a conservative group founded by Trump aide Stephen Miller, who's the guy that's always going hard at the left and the media. He's the bald guy, Stephen Miller, and he's he's a riot to listen to. It says to assert that American employers had long been obsessed with diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives and affirmative action plans. 2 years ago, the court's conservative majority outlawed consideration of race in university admissions. Since taking office in January, President Donald Trump has ordered an end to DEI policies in the federal government and has sought to end government support for DEI programs elsewhere. Some of the new administration's anti-DEI initiatives have been temporarily blocked in federal courts. I would think those are all gonna get shot down eventually, but that his rulings are going to stand on it, because basically he's just saying you can't discriminate. So they're not saying to discriminate. It's weird that they could get a sue and say, no, you must discriminate. Federal agencies have moved quickly to implement Trump's vision and shift priorities to reflect that mission, including rooting out discrimination against members of majority groups, which all discrimination is wrong. The best way to stop racism is to stop being racist. The best way to stop discriminating is to stop discriminating. The head of the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, responsible for enforcing workplace discrimination laws, has pivoted the agency to focus on eliminating all forms of race discrimination. Hello? Isn't that what they're supposed to do? Get rid of all forms of discrimination? That's the whole point? It shouldn't really matter. I mean, I don't know if I want to get into this really, but if you look at who's employed by our federal government, it's clear that there's been discrimination going on. That's all I'll say about that. At the same time, Acting Chair Andrea Lucas has moved to deprioritize cases involving discrimination against transgender workers, saying she rejects the idea that civil rights exist solely to remedy harms against certain groups. Jackson's opinion makes no mention of DEI. Instead, she focused on Ames' contention that she was passed over for promotion and then demoted because she is heterosexual. Both the jobs she sought and the one she held were given to LGBTQ people. Sounds kind of discriminatory. Title I knows what he's
7
talking about.
of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 bars sex discrimination in the workplace. A trial court, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, ruled against Ames. The Sixth Circuit is among the courts that have required an additional requirement for people like Ames, showing background circumstances that might include the LGBTQ people who made the decisions affecting Ames, or that statistical evidence or a pattern of discrimination against members of the majority groups. I am going to talk about that
choosy because I have some family members that are being affected by the smoke up in Illinois, and they, you know, they have questions. I don't. I'm confused by the whole wildfire thing. I don't understand how this. I mean, I saw some of the pictures of the wildfire stuff, and I don't know how these fires that don't look like they're that big are affecting so much of the United States. Just seems weird, you know. So seems weird. I can never forget you, Dan. Never. Dan Blackwright again. The appeals court noted that Ames didn't provide any such circumstances, but Jackson wrote, this additional background circumstances requirement is not consistent with Title VII's text or our case law construing the statute. So, yeah, so that was that case. So basically, they have ruled that any discrimination is against the law, basically, in hiring and employment, which the way that the law is written. So that makes sense. Stand by your man. All right, there we go. So we're gonna put this back up here. So we looked at this was the yes, Inception. Let's see here. We got this. Oh, you think we already did this, right? Is this the one we saw? My charity raise. Why do I think it's something like this? And I raised $1 million. I'm gonna take 500,000. Yeah, we looked at this. Some second friend got 100. Yeah, we looked at all this. Yes, it's that one. Folder. Okay, now we're going to jump to a different story. Okay, different story completely. All right, have you guys been noticing? Yeah, that guy was nuts. That there's been like a lot of weird things that have been reported that we've been seeing. People getting arrested for smuggling weird stuff into the country, like bacteria and these things, and we keep hearing about it. To fight the bug, we must understand the bug. CBP agriculture specialists in Detroit found fresh cherries infested with European cherry fruit fly maggots and larvae. The traveler who had infested cherries was headed to Door County, Wisconsin, a major cherry growing area. If CBP hadn't caught them, the fruit flies could have devastated orchards, hurt family farms, driven up prices, and required serious mitigation efforts. Yes. 2 gyms for the price of 1. Yes, Terry. And tonight, you got 2 gyms for the low price of nothing because I didn't do any goal. We've only had one donation tonight. It was here's another one. Now it's Spuds coming in with America. It says Ellie Four says thanks for $5 in Rumble, and then Spuds 1964 for $1 says if America hating Billy Joe Armstrong of Green Day gets arrested for embezzlement, I will be a happy camper. Yes, I would be happy for that too. I would like to see him to become. I would literally like him to be the definition of an American idiot. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You guys going to do your part to prevent the bugs, to get rid of the bugs? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a no-fly zone. Agriculture specialists intercepted fresh cherries infested with European cherry fruit fly at Detroit Metro Airport. That's what it looked like. The cherries. Look at them. Oh, that's gross. Gross. Oh. Ooh. Here's Thunder Kong saying, great job, CBP. Is this biological warfare attack? Why did this traveler bring infested foreign cherries to a major U.S. cherry-producing region? The traveler from Romania was destined for Fish Creek, Wisconsin, which is recognized as a major tart cherry-producing region. CBP field ops deny entry of cherry chopping fruit fly at Detroit Metro Airport. U.S. Customs and Border Patrol agricultural specialists intercepted fresh cherry infested with European fruit fly at the Detroit Metropolitan Airport. The exotic pest was discovered during a secondary inspection of a 5-pound bag of fresh cherries, which were found to be heavily infested with the live fruit fly maggots and pupae. The traveler was arriving from Romania and destined for Fish Creek, Wisconsin, which is recognized as a major cherry producing region. Mm-hmm. Local CBP and USDA officials tentatively identified the specimens as European cherry fruit fly, and a specialist on the systemic entomology laboratory confirmed identification earlier this month. And why would it be in a bunch of infested rotten fruit cherries? It doesn't make any sense. This was an excellent interception by our agricultural receptionists. The pest could pose major threat to cherry orchards in the Midwest. Yeah. The fly is the most serious pest of cherries in Europe. Larvae rasp at fruit and their hook-like mandibles as they feed, and this damage causes rot that renders the fruit unmarketable. To avoid major loss, increased pesticide use is necessary. Their ability to utilize their hosts, such as honeysuckle, dogwood, and barberry, to complete their life cycle complicates control efforts once introduced. The critical nature of the work that CBP agriculture specialists perform to protect our agriculture and natural resources cannot be emphasized. Director of Field Operations, this is yet another example of the diligence and expertise in action. European cherry fruit fly has been discovered in several counties in New York, which are now under quarantine to prevent further spread of the cherry chomping pest. Travelers can prevent introduction of exotic pests and diseases by declaring all food and plant items upon arrival to the U.S. Okay. And then there's this. Oh, what's this? CCP saboteurs working as researchers for the University of Michigan were caught in the act of agro-terrorism, bringing wheat blight into the U.S. and trying to genetically modify it. This could have wiped out the grain crop. We must investigate if the orange blight brought here from China was a similar act of agro-terrorism. I suspect it is, since its arrival came alongside the discovery of China's unrestricted warfare strategy of covertly attacking as vulnerable enemy verticals in times of peace. And the blight has since destroyed over 95% of Florida's orange industry and about 90% of the American citrus industry generally. All it took was getting the Asian physlid and the HLB bacteria it carries from the PRC into America, and since then the citrus industry has been obliterated. Details below. In China smuggling the bioterror, see? Then you got this. This was the stuff they were smuggling in, and then this is the Honglongbing blight from China was destroyed most of Florida's citrus groves. There is no cure. All the land in this video was an orange grove whose trees were killed by the blight. Mm-hmm. See? Look at that. This is what it looks like when they stuff. That's my belief, Trumpinator, that all this is coming through China. Even the guy coming from Romania, he probably could have been a Chinese person coming from Romania. Who was he? What's his name? Who's his daddy? Is he rich like me? It's a song. I wrote a song about it. Want to hear it? Here it goes. Yes. So this is what's going on. Relief is on the way to help forest growers and farmers recover from the recent disasters. Citrus aid money arrives as the industry teeters on the brink. Groves suffer from deadly disease and hurricanes. See, this blight came from China. Trump is shifting global citrus demand away from the U.S. Don't expect a full recovery ever. It's what Florida's voted for. Enjoy. And that's not that. It's the Chinese destroyed our fields. What are we supposed to do? And we got Byron Donalds running for governor. Thank you, POTUS, and thank you to Secretary Rollins for supporting Florida farmers. This was a great week for agriculture in the Sunshine State. Mm-hmm. And here it is. China destroyed 95% of Florida's oranges. Yeah, just like what they did with COVID. Right? Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Commie bastards. That's right. They're already raging biological war. Welcome back, and thanks for reading today's articles. Are less history focused than recent ones. It gets back to our roots. Articles explaining that the Americans ought to know, but don't. Bill Barr's connection to Jeffrey Epstein, how private equity is destroying medical care in America. Watching that mold. Today's articles about biological agent from China is utterly decimated classic Florida's oranges. As always, please make sure to like this article by tapping the heart at the top of the page. Enjoy delicious, refreshing taste of Florida's natural oranges. Classic oranges are the juice made from them. You might have noticed a relative dearth of them as of late. Not to say they're not around, they are, but they're less common at the stores, with bags of fruits from elsewhere taking their place. A specialized seller like Hale Groves send few advertisements and have even less inventory. Why? Because China is waging biological warfare on the United States. Yes, People's Republic of China did the orange crop, what it just tried to do to the wheat crop when CCP saboteurs tried to smuggle wheat blight into the upper Northwest in an act the DOJ called agroterrorism, releasing a plague that's wiped out close to 100% of Florida's orange groves, once the fruit for which the state was renowned. I'm just going to say, if this is true, if China's doing this, We are at war with China. They have declared war on us. They have attacked us, and something has to be done. I mean, maybe we stop buying anything from China. We just completely stop buying anything from China at all. We just say nothing and watch them just crumble into nothing. The biological weapon that was detonated like a nuclear bomb in Florida and has slowly spread across other orange-growing regions of the country, namely Texas and California, is much like the recent form of agroterrorism, a form of blight. This one originating in what's now the PRC is called Yanglongbing, or in our tongue, citrus greening. HLB is a nasty pestilence, in this case a bacterium that is spread by gnat-sized type of bug called syphilid. In this particular case, the particular insect responsible is the Asian citrus thistleid. Once it infects a tree, this tree cannot be saved. It must be burned to wipe away the bacteria, meaning that often entire groves of treasured trees must go up in flames to deal with the citrus blight. I have been noticing a lot of palm trees dying down here. I wonder if they're getting infected too. Notably, the bacteria and the bug carry approximately discovered in the early 1900s, but were long present only in what is now the PRC. Chinese citrus growers knew to expect it and were used to dealing with it. The problem was relatively contained over there and caused continual but non-catastrophic losses. The situation is quite different in America. Here, HLB and the Asian syphilid didn't appear in Florida until around the turn of the 21st century. The best estimates putting it around late 90s. At that point, the trees started dying and their leaves falling off, branches shriveled, and fruits become ugly and deformed. In the beginning, the farmers thought the citrus-destroying bacteria was no big deal, as the trees were resilient and the Florida climate is perfect for growing. But the citrus carnage never stopped. Like a slowly exploding nuclear bomb, the HLB bacteria that suspiciously washed about our shores with no convincing reason as to how it got here legitimately has destroyed 90% of the Florida orange industry. In 97-98 growing season, the last to occur before HLB plague began, was Florida's peak year of citrus production. That season saw a whopping 304 million boxes of citrus fruits grown. Then the Chinese syphilids started flying, and within a decade, production had crashed by a third, falling to under 204 million. The growth death was far from over as the pestilence relentlessly marched on. Florida struggled to even hold its ground, much less recover. As of the 2017-18 growing season, Florida managed to produce just 49 million boxes of citrus fruit, 86% decline in 20 years. Yeah, that's what I think. I think it was intentional contamination of cherry crops. They're trying to attack our food. They're trying to attack everything we do. That's why they're everything they're doing. Yeah. Florida's orange crop has been particularly hard hit. The last pre-HLP season, 244 were produced. As 2024, the state only managed to produce 12 million oranges, a decline of 95%. Productive citrus acreage has fallen as well, though just not as sharply. According to RDA, as 2000, the peak of 832,000 acres were devoted to citrus production. As of 2024, just 275,000 acres were in production, a collapse around two-thirds. Similarly, around two-thirds of processing and packing plants have shut down. Thousands of farmers have thrown in the towel. Tens of thousands of workers have lost their job. The remainder of the industry has faced similar dire losses. And that's just Florida. The same process is now playing out in Texas and California. The overall American citrus production has fallen by about 90%. Dramatic reversal from under 3 decades ago when the citrus industry was at its peak and seen well, with Americans consistently loving delicious fruit produced from resilient trees. Now there is a desert where once were productive trees, and over 3.5 billion has been destroyed in Florida alone, all because of bug and bacteria brought here from China. I'm no blight from China to destroy more than a Florida citrus grove. Shocking damage. Look at it. Tragically, there's no cure for the blight has been found. There seems to be some hope that a certain fertilizer could help. Others think a gene from the spinach plant could be effective in fighting the citrus contagion, but it's still just hope. At this point, with insecticides and antibiotics proving ineffective, it looks like the groves traditional Florida oranges will have to be destroyed and replaced by GMO oranges if there's any chance of success keeping orange production alive. Thus, the bacteria-driven blight has caused an utter collapse in the industry that provided a fruit Americans quite enjoyed in large quantities, bringing former prosperous industry led by archetype American farmers to its knees, and the bacteria is here thanks to the PRC. Was it intentional? The multi-billion-dollar question, the question that really gets down to the matter of whether it was consequence of globalization or active biological warfare, is whether the spread of the HBL bacteria and the Asian syphilid that carried it was intentional or accidental. On one hand, such things do happen without a nefarious involvement of the state, particularly when a minuscule insect is to blame. Alligator snapping turtles have somehow ended up in England. Asian carp are now a massive problem, were first brought here to deal with algae. And the kudzu that has swallowed the south from the first ornamental vine brought here from the Orient. So perhaps HBL and its insect hosts accidentally came here on something like orange jasmine or ornamental landscape plant, and the collapse of our famed citrus industry is purely an accident. This is a conclusion most don't want to think about the issue draw. But it seems like an as agro-terrorism attack is the sort of thing is exactly what China's wheelhouse and has been said it would be part of its unrestricted warfare playbook. In 1999, right around the time that HBO was first discovered, PRC USA tensions were somewhat high. Two PRC officers released a paper titled Unrestricted Warfare. The paper was quite long, so its interest of brevity, the core focus is how the PRC can wage war more successfully by playing outside the traditional rules of war and utilizing the full spectrum of targets and power to bring enemies to their knees. As relevant here, the understanding of national power and attacking targets, including using subversion, obfuscation to attack the economy of an enemy power such as the United States, further involves doing so while in a technical state of peace. As the authors noted, that much of subversion and espionage tactics can be done so long as enough obfuscation is used, such a way that it causes great harm to the target nation while staying below the threshold of escalation to full war. But the economic aspect of unrestricted warfare was traditionally understood to mean gaining a step up and avoiding onerous R&D costs through stealing industrial and technological secrets is far broader than that and includes waging asymmetric warfare and unexpected verticals such as agriculture. And such an understanding of war and taxes the PRC could not hesitate to, if it could get away with it, release a bacteria that destroys 90% of a multi-billion-dollar industry. In fact, the House Oversight Committee has found the PRC is already a position to wage such unrestricted warfare on American agricultural sector, finding in 2024 USA's failed to address CCP unrestricted warfare against U.S. agriculture is unacceptable given the CCP's efforts that are not new. For decades, communist regimes interfered with agricultural production. Further, the same report found that the USDA has not remained vigilant about protecting American farmers from Chinese unrestricted warfare strategy. USDA overlooks the CCP's efforts to exploit America's food security because the PRC is America's biggest agricultural customer. The USDA does not want to offend America's top customer. Indeed, USDA officials told the committee they do not offer training about CCP infiltration and influence operations targeting American agriculture and food supply. So America is in a position where it's clear that the PRC is engaged in unrestricted warfare targeting American agriculture industries, and that such a strategy would involve weakening our agricultural sector by releasing pestilence into it. So long as enough obfuscation can be used to prevent American retaliation, weakening the enemy while staying below the thresholds for escalation is, after all, much of the point of unrestricted warfare. So it is, of course, that they not only would do, but are actually currently doing. The wages of unrestricted war. With that unrestricted warfare strategy in mind, some of the various pestilence and infestations America faces make far more sense, particularly when understood in the light of the USDA remaining intentionally inattentive to such matters. For example, the spotted lanternfly is another bug originally from China that, like havoc-wreaking Asian fistlid, mysteriously showed up in America and started causing immense damage. Namely, the spotted lanternflies secrete a waste that attracts wasps and leads to the growth of sooty mold and black-colored fungi. They cause the death of the plants on which they feed, such as grapevines, maples, black walnut, birch, and willow. Well, that sounds more like an annoyance than a disaster. The cost is severe. Pennsylvania found the cost to it alone was well over $300 million in 2019. Similarly, the cost of homeowners affected by the flies is substantial. It was unclear how the flies got here, but we know they came from China and they're doing immense economic damage. Because their origin is clear, the escalated threshold hasn't been reached. All in all, this is an attack straight out of the unrestricted warfare playbook. Another example is the emerald ash borer, yet another highly destructive bug from China. Like the others, it appears to have arisen in America as part of the trade war. In this case, wooden shipping crates, and has since killed hundreds of millions of ash trees across America. That one bug alone has ravaged entire forests, and the cost of fixing it is likely over $10 billion. So if the accidental inclusion of bugs in the shipping crates was a covert, purposeful act carried out as part of unrestricted warfare, then it worked great. If it was purposeful, China did economic equivalent of seeking an aircraft carrier with just a few beetles. More recently, China smuggled wheat blight into Michigan. The threat posed by the bacteria is serious enough that the DOJ is referring it to an act of agroterrorism, which is really an understatement given the blight can wipe out entire cereal crops if managed to spread unchecked. Had it worked, it would have been a perfect play in the unrestricted warfare playbook given the damage to the American economy and the unprepared world food markets. Fortunately for us, the CCP-connected researchers with the blight were caught, and now we know the PRC is waging agricultural warfare on the United States. This brings us back to the HLB and the insect carrier. There's no smoking gun, as there is with the wheat blight, showing the citrus blight is brought here intentionally by the PRC. But we know both the PRC is doing such things as part of the unrestricted warfare attacks upon us, and it's shown by the recent case and the House Oversight Committee report that economic cost of those attacks is monumental. In this case, it has so far caused billions of dollars in damages and destroyed 90% of the once thriving industry while massively increasing our resilience on GMO crops. Perhaps it is unintentional, and perhaps it was right after an unrestricted warfare style attack. No one, like, they were just caught in. There is no escaping unrestricted warfare. I have no desire to fight a war with China, dying off the coast of Formosa for unfair reasons, given that we should just make the semiconductors here isn't on my bucket list. Important to remember, however, is that the PRC thinking is way too burdened by a rock bottom fertility rate, terrible demographics due to a one-child policy, and an economy that relies on exporting goods and importing fuel and fuel. Even a successful invasion of the Republic of China would be a disaster for them if they were for long, bloody, or both. That's unrestricted warfare. To them, war doesn't just mean ships, tanks, and planes firing at each other. It means that they put cyber warfare, proxy conflicts, and growing accustomed to it means covert blows against very important enemy vertical from political stability to food production. It means weakening us so that no war is necessary, and doing so with pinprick blows to draw enough blood to hurt, but not to cause shooting war-style retaliation. Every suspicious bacteria or bug from China, not to mention propaganda and technology from them, should be viewed through that lens. It's really that all insects and diseases they carry just happen to get here through our porous border and tens of billions of dollars in damage once here. Is it really the accident that Florida's orange production is down 95%? Perhaps, but that seems unlikely. What seems more likely, Sally, is that unrestricted warfare is working exactly as it's intended, and it's the reason you can't find Florida oranges. Mm-hmm. Found this value article. Check them out. Yeah, see, because here it's like this stuff says, traveling with food. All travelers entering the United States are required to declare meats, fruits, vegetables, plants, seeds, soils, animals, as well as plant and animal products they may be carrying. Figure out how. Look at this dog. Looking at this dog snuffed at pig's head and whatever these other things are in the bottles that they're smuggling in. Yeah, the emerald ash borer is horrible. And was that another thing that they sent here to mess with us? Declaring a sandwich? Seriously? CBP's rules turn every traveler to a suspect for carrying an apple. The real issue, bureaucrats built a maze of regulations so convoluted that honest people get fined $1,000 for undeclared snacks while DC blows billions on pork. USDA's own data shows 70% of content items pose zero risk. It's not about safety, it's about control. Next time you're forced to bin Grandma's homemade jam. Remember, the same agencies wasted your time. Rubber stamp $800 million for foreign gender programs without a blink. Priorities. Question. Picture is not a sandwich. Also, narrative is not about personal items, wholesale, real estate items, commercial guidance. A pig's head, for example. You're not a human, so don't expect you to gauge whether or not this is normal. Meal for one. A sandwich might be. Pig's head is not a snack, weirdo. What are you doing? I just had you out. What is your problem? Pull it down. Mm-hmm. Here, CZP Sadvor's working the blight bot from China. It says they caught a third one in Michigan just a few days ago. Well, imagine how many of our 500,000 Chinese college students just slipped through the cracks. Another Chinese scientist from Wuhan charged. Mm-hmm. Remember, not just about crops, it's about collapse. Farmers are sounding the alarm. China's biowarfare isn't a future threat. It's happening now, from smuggling crop-killing fungus, buying up farmland, and seed companies. The CCP is targeting our food supply to stabilize America without firing a shot. We lose our farms, we lose more than food, we risk losing our economy, our banks, and our sovereignty. Mm-hmm. Let's see, let's just
ask about what they think about the dangers of agroterrorism. And I've got to say, what they told me about the fragility of our food supply will give you pause.
Tear down this wall.
The Chinese, however, know perfectly well they are at war with the United States, and they're executing that war every single day. They deliver attacks on high-tech targets, steal intellectual property, plant moles in the private sector, academia, and the highest levels of government. We've witnessed cyber attacks as the FBI and the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency, CISA, have highlighted Chinese operations targeting U.S. tech companies, universities, and government agencies, too. Intellectual theft, according to numerous estimates, could be $600 billion a year, and espionage is ongoing, highlighted by cases like the 2020 arrest of a Chinese military officer posing as a U.S. college student. And those are just some easy examples. Chinese warfare in America is ubiquitous, and unless we wake up and soon, they could win this war. Because they're fighting on battlefields we don't know exist, or at least don't pay attention to. And one of the most disturbing is unfolding in the nation's heartlands.
Bioterrorism. Bioterrorism.
Biowarfare.
Yes, warfare. Warfare without firing a shot.
Mark Benjamin is a sixth-generation farmer in southern Michigan. His family began feeding the nation sometime around 1880, and his forefathers and mothers have been turning this ground ever since. They faced the Great Depression, floods, droughts, and tornadoes as well. But Mark says the recent arrest of several Chinese students from the University of Michigan carrying fungus designed to attack corn, beans, wheat, and rice is an all-new threat, and one that he takes quite seriously. From what you've read, from what you figured out, an enhanced fungus that maybe is fungicide resistant, and that's what you're reading. What would it mean? What could it mean?
Right now, we can treat the diseases on wheat and corn with a fungicide. But the stuff this third person snuck into the U.S. is stuff that they can use to make the disease resistant to our fungicides.
And what would that mean?
That would mean that easily wipe out half the crop. Half, easy, if it's on wheat. Right now, every year we're dealing with it. Even sometimes when it's treated for it, you'll still get docked if the wheat has too much vomitoxin.
I gotta say something. I'm sorry. Hi, Hi, Doug. Hi, Doug and Phil. Hi, Phillies. How you doing? I did not see your donation last night until after the stream ended, so I apologize that I didn't recognize it. My phone was, the ringer was off, so I didn't hear the thing. Thank you very much.
In it. If you look around, wheat, corn, beans, whatever field you look at, if the United States lost half of its crop, because once it was here, the fungus spreads naturally, doesn't it? It just gets in the air and it goes.
Yeah, it's airborne, and of course, it could be spread intentionally anywhere. And when you get the right weather conditions with the right amount of rain and the winds, it'll spread.
If America lost half of its crop, what would that mean?
If the fungus was to be enhanced so it's more potent, and then also enhanced so we can't control the fungicides, and we lose half a crop for a couple of years, then you're starting to talk about massive world starvation.
That's right, famine, like America.
Yep, famine. So that's a good way, That's a good way to, stop to win a war, is if everyone's famine and starving. Another Chinese scientist from Wuhan, charged from Wuhan. What happened in Wuhan? Does anyone remember what happened in Wuhan? Wuhan, that name sounds familiar. Charged with smuggling illegal biological material into the U.S. Let's see here. Let's see. Chinese researcher allegedly tied to smuggle biological material into the U.S. from Wuhan and lied to the feds about the secretive scene. Chen Zhonghan was arrested Sunday after landing at the Detroit Metropolitan Airport from a flight from Shanghai, according to charging documents. She was charged with smuggling goods into the U.S. and making false statements. Han is the third Chinese scientist to be charged with smuggling illegal biological materials into Michigan in recent weeks. Yang Qing, 33, and her boyfriend Zheng Yongli, 34, were charged last year allegedly trying to smuggle samples of dangerous crop-killing fungus into the U.S. The FBI said Yang, a Chinese Communist Party loyalist and lab researcher at the University of Michigan, who received Chinese government funding for her work, was charged last week in a plot to the National Security Center called an attack on the U.S. food supply. Upon Han's arrival in the U.S., border officials discovered Han sent 4 packages that contained biological materials related to roundworms from China, according to court documents. Oh, yes, I can read that. It says, Chinese researcher allegedly tried to smuggle biological materials in the U.S. from Wuhan and lied to the feds about the secretive scheme. Look at them all. Oh, it's Fang Fang. This means spore. It means war. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Okay. All right, we're going to move on to the next story. This one is a sickening one. If you have a weak stomach or weak constitution, I suggest you tighten up because this one's sick. 6 people allegedly led by an illegal migrant in a pedophile underground bunker abuse ring have been arrested in Bibb County, Alabama. Prosecutors say the suspect drugged young children and took them to a bunker where they and animals were excessively abused. The reality of just how bad someone has become terrifies me. Yes, me too. Yes. This is a sick story. 10 children, ages 2 to 15, rescued after being held in Alabama basement, sexually tortured by their own parents, police say. 10 children for the past 3 years have been held in a storm bunker in Alabama and sexually tortured in a sex trafficking ring, with some children as young as 2, according to police. Some of those who set up the ring are reportedly parents to some of the children held captive. There have been 7 suspects who have been arrested in connection with horrific crimes, according to the New York Post. Children have been subject to sexual abuse where the captors have used objects such as animal shock collars in the abuse. The Bibb County Sheriff's Department has said, I know God's forgiveness is boundless, but if there was a limit, we've reached it. Yeah, I would, some of them people might not have made it to jail. The victims are between the ages of 2 and 15. They're all in the custody of the Alabama Department of Human Resources and been given access to counselors. Suspect Rebecca Brewer, Sarah Luz Terrell, Ricky Terrell, Dalton Terrell, William Chase Alvaroy, Andres Velacuevo Trejo, and Timothy St. John all face a slew of charges ranging from human trafficking to rape of children and sexual tortures. Those arrested so far have each played a role in the sex trafficking ring, according to police. Valiquez Trejo would have allegedly drugged the victims, putting a powder in their drinks before clients came, paying $1,000 to rape the children. Often the children were tied up during the abuse. 2 victims say they were forced by the suspects to perform sex acts on each other. And the bunker belonged to or was near the home owned by McElroy's grandparent. Jones said that McElroy had taught some of his victims how to perform the sex acts by performing them on victims himself. Sarah Louise Terrell also placed shock collars on the children, according to the suspects would use the collars as a form of punishment. The victims include the children of Terrell, Velasquez, Trejo, and Brewer. Velasquez, Trejo, and Brewer have 3 children together, and Brewer has a 4th child with a different individual. It's not clear if all 4 children were among those victimized. It's unclear how many children from the Terrell family were involved, and as well as who fathered the kids. All 3 Terrells have been charged with being connected to the crimes, but the relationship is not clear. Wade said there's no telling how many victims there may have been in this case. The investigation into the sex trafficking ring is ongoing with the Department of Homeland Security. Part of the probe will be to investigate potential connections to the Serranos gang in Mexico. Serranos gang. Gang makes much of its profits from child sex trafficking. No child deserves this, the power and control of it, the stealing of innocence. Wade added, some of the older children will carry this with them for their life, but you can't heal from this. What is it? I saw it was an illegal, the guy running it was supposed to be an illegal alien, part of that Mexican cartel. The story, the reality of just how bad society's become terrifies me. What about all the IVF child farms that are finding the latest in LA a couple weeks ago, 21 kids? Yes, this is a terrible story. Terrible, terrible story. Oh, hold on. Okay. Sorry, I had to get it from the, yeah. Yes, I agree. Definitely. Maps go on the wall where they belong. Millstone times. That's right, around the neck. 21 children removed from Arcadia home after a couple accused of tricking women into surrogacy. Huh. Surrogate mothers who gave birth to children for an Arcadia couple are looking for answers after the pair were recently accused of neglect. 21 children and babies were removed from their home. Arcadia police officers responded to a local hospital for a report of a 2-month-old child with significant head trauma, according to the Arcadia Police Department. Officers confirmed that the child had apparently been shaken, dropped, or went through a traumatic incident. Detectives responded to the home in the 600 block of West Camino Real Avenue and discovered that there were 15 other children inside the residence. Police wrote a search warrant for surveillance footage and hard drives and phone records from the home and identified the nanny, 56-year-old Chum Lam Lee, as a suspect in the child abuse. Officials say they corroborated the parents, 65-year-old Gong Zhong Zhan and 38-year-old Celia Zhang, allegedly knew the child was injured and did nothing for 2 days. 2 days later, Zhang and Quan were arrested on suspicion of felony child endangerment and neglect of their children and were taken into protective custody. Police say that nanny Lee was not at home and is still outstanding. 6 other children were temporarily away from the home at the time and have since been taken into protective custody by the Department of Children and Family Services and placed into foster care. The 21 children, some of whom were born through surrogacy, range from 2 months to 13 years old, the majority of them being between 1 and 3 years old. This case was deferred by the district attorney for further investigation as the couple was released without any charges being filed. In an interview with the Bioethics and Culture, a networking group that focuses on ethics and bionethology, met with the couple. She was having children on her own, but wanted to help others grow their family. The Texas mother of 4 said she posted on Facebook about wanting to become a surrogate, and the Mark agency, a surrogacy company she used, reached out to her through local media, said she knows that they should have been first red flag. Elliot at Bioethics and Culture agreed to surrogacy for a Chinese couple and told the child was conceived with the father's sperm and a donor egg. She underwent an embryo transfer at West Fertility Institute in Encino last year. During the transfer, Elliot was supposed to meet the couple in person for the first time. She said only the father was present. Elliot was told the mother had a stomach bug and didn't want to get her sick. Now we know that the same situation told to many other women also used them. It wasn't some type of lie. It was some type of lie. When Elliot was 17 weeks pregnant, she told the group of scrolling Facebook and looked for surrogacy agency news. Elliot saw the Mark agency and saw they were negative. Through Facebook comments, Elliot claimed she found 2 other women who were carrying babies for the same Chinese couple that she was. Elliot immediately reached out to her lawyer, who contacted the surrogacy agents. So I wonder if this is the Chinese planning the long game trying to get these babies that are surrogates that are born, that makes the babies automatically U.S. citizens, right? Because they're born to surrogates who are U.S. citizens, right? Then they can take those babies back to China and indoctrinate them and then send them back to the U.S. to become politicians, maybe president one day, and just surrender America to China. Elliot told the group through her pregnancy she had minimal contact with the intended parents, the intended mother. The woman handed Elliot $2,000 and thanked her for giving birth. That's nuts, right? Just nuts. Mm-hmm. Yeah. News story. Free speech under siege. How Europe is becoming the new China. Decline and fall of free speech in Europe. Europe once stood as the proud heir to the Enlightenment. Today it's becoming a graveyard of its core principles. The continent that produced Locke and Montesquieu now bursts bureaucratic decrees to treat memes, satire, and political slogans as threats to civil order. The European Union's Digital Service Act, originally sold as a regulatory shield against disinformation and harmful content, has metastasized into a censorship regime of stunning scope. Recent findings by the House Judiciary Committee confirm what many suspect. The DSA is not merely a European law, it's an export mechanism for ideological control. The DSA pressures American companies to adopt global content moderation standards aligned with European political preferences, forcing them under the threat of billion-dollar fines. In doing so, it subjects U.S. citizens to censorship from foreign bureaucracies whose values diverge fundamentally from our own constitutional traditions. The Trump administration has made clear that its transnational censorship is unacceptable and acting accordingly. Let's examine the latest evidence. According to the committee's July 2015 interim report, the European Commission and various EU member states have actively classifying basic political statements as illegal hate speech. Among the examples was a phrase, "We need to take back our country." Commonplace political sentiment uttered by everyone from Donald Trump to Elizabeth Warren. At a secretive European Commission workshop on May 7, 2025, the phrase was labeled as coded language requiring censorship. The target was not violence nor obscenity. The target was dissent. And that's saying they're deeply concerned at the findings of the Judiciary Committee. Yeah, these people are nuts. President Trump's State Department has announced that it's coming to the defense of Elon Musk's X after friends labeled it an organized crime group and opened a criminal investigation. The State Department said, as part of the criminal investigation, an activist French prosecutor is requesting information on X's proprietary algorithm and classified X as an organized crime group. Democrat governments should allow all voices to be heard, not silence speech they dislike. The United States will defend the free speech of all Americans against acts of foreign censorship. Trump to defend X after France labels it an organized crime group. It's just nuts, right? Musk is making it clear censorship of X in Europe won't be tolerated. As a part of the criminal investigation, an activist professor is requesting information on her proprietary algorithm. Democrat governor, French authorities have launched a politically motivated criminal investigation into X over alleged manipulation of its algorithm and alleged fraudulent data extraction. The U.S. stance here exposes a critical hypocrisy in global governance. Foreign regimes weaponize interference claims to silence dissent, while their own bureaucracies operate with zero transparency. France's attack on X reeks of political theater. Since when does demanding algorithmic transparency require labeling a platform a criminal enterprise? This isn't about justice, it's about controlling narratives. The State Department's defense rightly calls out this overreach. But let's be clear, DC shouldn't stop at rhetoric. If foreign governments can arbitrarily criminalize American tech leadership, where does it end? The real crime is France's own track record of censoring free speech under EU digital laws while lecturing others about democracy. America first means protecting our innovators from foreign bullying. Full stop. Mm-hmm. I recently wrote a book about the EU's threatening free speech and globalizing regulation on social media. Now French press has declared that criminal crime organization. Mm-hmm. A new world order with European values, that unholy union of globalism and anti-free speech measures. A new world order with European values. Globalists gathered in Berlin to create a new era based on European values that not only involve the expansion of transnational systems, but contraction of free speech rights. A new world order with European values emboldened across banners and signs. Those words met the participants at this week's meeting at the World Forum in Berlin. Each year, leaders, executive journalists, and academics gather to address the great threats facing humanity. This year, there was little doubt about what they view as the current threat: the resurgence of populism and free speech. Fairness and form, New World Order likely sounds more ominous for some civil libertarians than intended. While the European Union is a transnational government stretching across 27 nations, the organizers were referring to a shift of values away from the United States to Europe. As one of the few speakers at the forum who was calling for greater protection for free speech, I found an unnerving message. Even putting aside the implications of the New World Order, the idea that building a world on today's European values is alarming for free speech. Free speech is in free fall in Europe with ever-expanding speech regulations and criminal prosecutions, including for having toxic ideologies. The World Forum has a powerful sense of fraternity, even as an intimacy among leaders who see each other as a global elite, a cadre of enlightened minds, protecting citizens from their own poor choices and habits. There has long been a push for transnational governing systems, and European figures see as an opportunity created by the conflict with President Trump. The European Union is a model for such a Pax Europa, a European peace. The problem is that the vision for a new Holy Roman Empire lacks a Charlemagne. More importantly, it lacks public support. The very notion of a new world order is chilling to many who oppose the rise of globalist class with the rise of transnational governments in European Union and beyond. This year, there is a sense of panic among Europe's elite over the victory of Trump and Republicans in the U.S., as well as nationalist and populist European movements. For globalists, the latest Tip O'Neill rule that all politics is local is anathema. The European Union is intended to transcend national identities and priorities in favor of inspired transnational government managed by elite experts. The message is clear. The New World Order would be based on European, not American values. To rally the faithful to the cause, organizers calls upon two patron saints of the global elite, Bill and Hillary Clinton. President Clinton was even given the award for Leader of the Century. The Clinton was clearly in their element. Speaker after speaker denounced Trump and the rise of what they called autocrats and oligarchs. The irony was crushing. The European Union is based on the oligarchy of the ruling elite. The World Forum even took time to celebrate billionaires from Bill Gates to George Soros for funding open societies and greater transnational powers. The discussion focused on blunting the rise of far-right parties and stemming the flow of disinformation that fosters such dissent. Outside of this rarefied environment, the Orwellian language would border on the humorous, protecting democracy from itself and limiting free speech to foster free speech. Yet one aspect of the forum was striking and refreshingly open. This year it became clear why transnational governments gravitate towards greater limits on free speech. Of course, all must be done in the name of democracy and free speech. There is coded language that is now vogue with all the anti-free speech community. They never say the word censorship. They refer content moderation. They do not call for limiting speech. Instead, they call for limiting false or hateful or insightful speech. As for the rise of opposing parties and figures, they are referred to as movements by low information voters misled by disinformation. Of course, it is the government that will decide what is acceptable and unacceptable viewpoints. The code was broken recently by J.D. Vance, who confronted our European allies in Munich to restore free speech. He stripped away the pretense and called out the censorship. With the rise of populist groups, anti-immigration movements, and critics of European governments, there is a palpable challenge to the EU authority. In that environment, free speech can be viewed as destabilizing because it spreads dissent and falsehoods about these figures and their agenda. Thus far, European peace has come at the price of silencing many of those voices. Achieving the pretense of consensus through coerced silence. Transnational governments requires consent over the wide swath of territory. That means the control or cooperation of media and social media is essential to manufacturing consent of the government. This is why free speech is in a tailspin in Europe. With the ever-expanding speech regulations and criminal prosecutions, it is difficult to get a free people to give up freedom. They have to be very afraid or very angry. One of the speakers was Maria A. Ressa, a journalist and Nobel laureate. I admire Ressa's courage as a journalist, but previously criticized her anti-free speech positions. Ressa has struck out against critics who have denounced her for allegedly anti-Semitic views. She has warned that the right to use free speech and declaring, "I will say it now," the fascists are coming. At a forum, Ressa again called the audience powerful leaders to prevent lies and dangerous disinformation from spreading worldwide. But the free speech movement has shown surprising resilience in the last few years. First, Elon Musk bought Twitter and dismantled its censorship apparatus, restoring free speech to social media platform. More recently, Zuckerberg announced that Meta would restore free speech protections on Facebook. To the shock to many, young Irish voters have been credited with killing a move to further expand criminalizing speech to include xenophobia and public dissemination of disturbing of tracks, pictures, or other material from viewpoints barred under law. Anti-free speech forces gathered to push back on such trends. Indeed, Hillary Clinton has hardly been subtle about the dangers of free speech to the New World Order. After Musk bought Twitter with the intention of restoring free speech protection, Clinton called upon the European Union to use its infamous ESA to make Musk censor her fellow Americans. She also suggested arresting those spreading disinformation. Wouldn't that be a crime if people are talking to other governments, asking them to do things to people in America? It's not a violation of the Logan Act. The European Union did precisely that by threatening Musk with confiscatory fines and even arrests until he censored users. When Musk decided to interview Trump in this election, EU censors warned him that they would be watching for any disinformation. For many years, European government does not exactly look like a triumph or oligarchs and autocrats. Indeed, EU looks pretty oligarchic. It's massive bureaucracy guided by a global elite and good billionaires like Soros and Gates. Citizens would be wise to look beyond the catchy themes and consider what Pax Europa would truly bring to them. We may have shared values with our European allies. However, given the current laws for limiting political speech, a new world order based on European values is hardly an inviting prospect for those who believe in robust, democratic, and free speech values. Mm-hmm. Yes, called a ventral hernia. The administration correctly announced the French investigation into X. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's another thing. U.S. condemns French inquiry into Musk's social media platform. Mm-hmm. This is European Union secretly pressures U.S. firm to censor immigration critics. Memes. I've had multiple surgeries because of it. I would say if they're recommending you get some type of mesh, think twice, because I've had multiple mesh surgeries and they've had it be removed and put back in and it starts going. It's a pain in the ass. I would if you can deal with it and live with it, I would just deal with it and live with it. That's my advice. European Union secretly presses U.S. firms to censor immigration criticism and memes. The European Union has secretly leaning on tech platforms to censor routine political speech and even jokes as a legal obligation under its DSA, according to an interim staff report by House Judiciary Committee. The committee was prompted by EU Commissioner Thierry Breton's threat against X last summer. Elon Musk scheduled a live stream with President Donald Trump might constitute illegal content under the DSA. Breton resigned under pressure from the EU President Ursula von der Leyen after Jordan demanded a briefing from Breton on his threats. His successor, Hannah Verkonen, remains strongly supportive of the censorship provisions and continues to enforce them against American companies. Camouflaged as a regulation to increase online safety, the DSA lets European regulators suppress speech globally by threatening fines up to 6% of the global revenue against platforms based anywhere they refuse to censor humor, satire, or core political speech that offends bureaucrats and align content with moderation and EC preferences. The law empowers them to temporarily shut down the platforms within the EU. Platforms must allow certified third-party arbitrators to resolve content moderation disputes who do not need to be independent from the European regulators who certify them, incentivizing arbitrators to heed regulator censorship demands. Because platforms bear the costs when they lose an arbitration, they are also incentivized to censor flag content before arbitration begins. No. No. Go ahead. Key takeaway, the threat to American speech is clear. European regulators define political speech, humor, and other First Amendment protected content as disinformation and hate speech. They require platforms to change their global content moderation policies to censor it. The Commission classifies important conversations on key political topics as hate speech. That must be censored under the DSA. That warns platforms that they must change their global content moderation policies to comply with the DSA's mandate. It's all right there. Something has to be done. Trump's going to have to step in. And this is the UK's Home Office assembled a team of elite police officers to monitor social media for anti-migrant sentiment and a new investigation unit to flag early signs of potential civil unrest. Mm-hmm. The National Internet Intelligence Investigation Team will aim to maximize social media intelligence. This is the future the Labour Party wants for Britain.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Give us some advice.
Some advice. Bismillah. If you're called a liar, don't get angry. If someone wrongs you, don't reciprocate. If you're present amongst people, do not be known. And if you're absent, don't be missed. Allah doesn't need us, brother. Allah does not need us. We are in dire need of Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah says, Ya ayyuhan nasu antumul fuqara'u illallah, wallahu huwal ghaniyul hamid. Allah says, oh mankind, Allah doesn't stand in need of any of you, but it's you that needs Allah. He is the Ghani and He is the Hamid. He is the one that is rich and He is the one that is worthy of all praise. Allah doesn't need us, brother. Allah doesn't need our service, our petty prayers with a lack of folks at the best of times, but we're in dire need of Allah Azza wa Jal. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give us a tawfiq and shower us with His mercy. Ameen. Allahumma ameen.
That's interesting. That's what they want. And, that's what they're doing, and that's what they're doing here. It's just elite police squad to monitor anti-migrant posts on social media. Like this post I just made, it probably would get monitored. The Home Office established National Internet Intelligence Investigation team to track down social media for signs of anti-migrant sentiment amid fears of renewed riots in Britain based on a National Police Coordination Center in Westminster. The unit will draw detectives nationwide to maximize social media intelligence, detect early indicators of civil unrest. Follows criticism of police responses to last summer's riot when protests outside of asylum hotels escalated into towns like Norwich, Leeds, Bournemouth. Dame Diane Johnson, the policing minister, stated that his team will provide a national capability to monitor social media intelligence and advise on its use to inform local operating decision making. The initiative response comes with recommendations from the Commons Homes Affairs Committee, which noted policing's failure to keep pace with the online communications. They're setting up a central team to monitor what you post, what you share, what you think. Beginning of state-controlled free speech. Right. That's what's going on. So be very, very, very aware that what's happening around the world. Like Ben said, the people who lie their ass off for a living in the UK are planning to give themselves the power to ban anyone who calls out their lies from running for office. Yeah. UK government plans disinformation bans on candidates. You thought the Online Safety Act was bad. That's right. Let's see.
Karl Löwenstein came to diametrically the opposite view. He said that actually you have to, when democracy is under attack, democracy has to defend itself through legal and constitutional methods. You have to use legal methods to defend democracy. And he talked about, in a lecture in 1937, he talked to 3 countries in the 1930s in Europe. Finland, Czechoslovakia, and Switzerland were the only ones that passed laws to make it a criminal offense to spread false rumors, disinformation of the day. 3 countries that didn't internally fall to fascism. So what Karl Löwenstein said is, look, we have to defend democracy from the enemies of democracy, and we have to make the spreading of deliberate deception for ideological reasons a criminal offense.
So can we arrest this guy for spreading disinformation for political reasons? Because he's a fascist if he wants to control speech. Because if he thinks for 1 second that there wasn't laws preventing people from spreading misinformation in Germany, he's a fucking liar. All right, I think this is going to be, let's see. Well, I'm almost, I got a couple more stories to go. I guess we're going to go through these last few stories before I end. And this is a new story here. It said, Market Basket in New Bedford, Massachusetts suspends 47 illegal alien employees after reported documentation audit when they cannot produce social security numbers. Huh. They hired them without social security numbers. How did they pay FICA, Medicare, and Social Security? Did the employer deduct those taxes? And if so, what did they do with the money? Pam Bondi needs to investigate immediately. Stolen Social Security money. There's going to be a flood of these reports. ICE has the money. It's building a detention centers and it's hiring enforcement agents. Soon Trump will enforce E-Verify and start issuing fines. That's right. Let's read the story. Read the story. The story. Let's see. No. New Bedford. I was going to play it, but Bedford activists are calling on protection after 47 employees were suspended from the Market Basket. They noticed that many of the employees at the Market Basket that don't have documents said through an interpreter, we could try to protect our workers because the Market Basket, they're firing employees without telling them you have 2 months, 3 months. That's why they can't find other work in that time. They don't know what they're doing right now. If they don't have documents, they cannot legally work in the United States. It's a crime to try and help people work illegally. Usually I prefer to comment, not chat premieres. This is not a premiere. This is live. Ventura said the store let go employees after they asked them to show their social security cards. Ventura believes the suspension were unfair because the store had hired the same workers with the same paperwork. He calls this action a result of fear spreading through the community as a result of increasing actions by ICE. He believes other industries will soon be targeted. Yeah, if you're hiring people with bogus IDs, you're going to go down. They're afraid because New Bedford is number one in all the Fisher's company, and why they're afraid of many companies. The employees, they don't have papers. If they don't have papers, they can't work. There's some point they're going to need workers. They're going to say no because they need to help each other. No, they don't have papers. They don't work. They go. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. This is a brief little story. Democrat Roy Cooper is going to seek the Senate seat vacated by Tom Tillis. Chuzy was talking about someone else's from here. Well, he could try, but he's going to have problems because who's going to run is going to be someone decent. It says, he's going to say he's going to seek their seat by, he's going to seek to win election in North Carolina for the first time. Roy Cooper will lead Democrats' effort to win a U.S. Senate election in North Carolina for the first time since 2008. Yeah, it's been in Republican hands for almost 20 years. 68-year-old former two-term governor, four-term attorney general, and 14 state lawmaker, that he will file December to succeed Tim Tillis. As he took the stage, he quickly asked for those running in 2026 to stand. He said, "Hey, I'm not sitting down, am I?" Cooper went to laud his accomplishments, including keynote speaker J.B. Pritzker, who in turn said, "Let's hear it for Senator Cooper." Cooper is expected to make a more formal announcement on Monday. Former U.S. Rep. Wiley Nichols said in April that had been leading name for Democrats, even as Tillis was not showing intent to exit. Nichols said this week he's choosing another office to seek and will support Cooper. Senator Kay Hagan in 2008 was the last Democrat to win Senate seat in that state. The last Democrat to win midterms was John Edwards in 98 and Terry Sanford in 86. Republicans are 5-0 in Senate elections since Hagan's triumph. Cooper's intent is no surprise, and it's likely to mean no serious primary for Democrats in March. Michael Whatley, the chairman, is expected to announce his candidacy with days. President Trump has already given his endorsement. What? No. It's supposed to be Lara Trump is supposed to run for that seat. Even before Tillis' retirement, the seat was one of the two Republicans considered most vulnerable to change in the midterms, either with party flip. Rep. Susan Collins, Maine, is the other. Cooper, born and raised in Nash County community of Nashville, claimed gubernatorial wins on Medicaid expansion, cumulative raise of 19% for teachers, and dismantling of the infamous bathroom bill known as House Bill 2 that now appears about 8 years ahead of its time. The legislation didn't allow for boys or men to enter private spaces opposite sex of saying they were boys or girls. Its losses are led by universal school choice, photo identification for voting, to regulation on abortion. The national move on protection of women's spaces poised to road a similar battle he won on HB2. Lawyer by trade, his sue until its blue approach put many decisions in courtrooms rather than a Capitol or legislative building. The tactic garnered success when the state Supreme Court grew to 6-1 majority Democrat, but lost steam during and after COVID when it pivoted to 5-2 Republican. Cooper is a 13-0 in elections from the state Senate, House, and Representative, Attorney General, and Governor, but it's far different this time in his party when he has won state House seat in 86, joining the Democratic majorities of 41 in the Senate and 84 to 36 in the House. Today, and Republicans 30-20 upper chamber and 71-49 and lower. Democrats that 21 years ago held 47% of the vote registration now are 30.6 and are barely ahead of the Grand Old Party. At the time when elected authority has become questioned in kingship, Cooper holds a state record with 104 vetoes. 52 were overridden. He has doled out 328 executive orders over 8 years of governor. 4 state budgets, he vetoed 2, citing 1. Cooper left the governor's job with 8 years of promises for 17,000 jobs, along with investments of $37 billion. There were collective announcements by Toyota, Apple, blah, 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 blah. VinFast, Mercury, whatever. Not supposed to be this Michael Whatley from the RNC. What the fuck are they doing? November 2023, released on parole for sexual assault. March 2024, allegedly involved in a shootout, gets shot, nearly hitting a child. July 2025, prosecutors finally filed charges. Yeah, I thought Laura Trump, her family is from North Carolina, and there was a lot of rumors she wanted to run for against Tillis. She was going to primary him. So I don't know what's up with Whatley. Parolee charged in 2024 West Side shootout that nearly struck 7-year-old. A man on parole for sexually assaulting a teenager has been charged in connection with a 2024 shootout on Chicago's West Side, where one of his bullets nearly struck a 7-year-old child. Prosecutors said, although he was identified almost immediately after the incident, no charges were filed until now. Elliot Cordova, 36, was less than 4 months into his parole when he allegedly exchanged gunfire with someone in a car around 1 p.m. on March 9th, 2024 at the 1900 block of North La Crosse. Prosecutors said the incident was caught on multiple surveillance cameras. According to a detention position, Cordova exchanged words with occupants of a passing vehicle before a rear passenger shot him several times. Cordova allegedly returned fire, discharging 5 rounds towards the vehicle. One of his bullets hit a parked car that was occupied by 2 people, including a 7-year-old boy. No one was injured. Cordova showed up at the Advocate, Illinois Masonic Medical Center for treatment after the shooting. Investigators identified him as a suspect shortly after the incident, but prosecutors did not file charges until this month. He's now charged with aggravated discharge of a firearm towards a vehicle and being a felon in possession of a firearm. Judge Antara Rivera ordered him detained, citing his decision to flee the scene and his failure to call 911. Due to his new allegations, Cordova has been returned to prison on a parole violation. He was 17 when he sexually assaulted a 16-year-old girl, leading to an 8-year prison sentence. He was released on parole in November 2023. Question is why she declined and Watley was the chair at the RNC with her. He was in cahoots with Tillis when the 2024 election media storm with Robinson happened. Yeah, they screwed over Robinson big time. Majorly big time screwed over Robinson. Majorly big time screwed over Robinson. Got this story here. No border, no nation, stop deportations. Far left protesters gathered to support the Britannia Hotel in London for being converted to another migrant hotel. Let me see. Is anybody streaming live right now? Our protesters gathered support that Britannia Hotel under migrant hotel accommodation. Numbers of male migrants arrive daily on boats. Here, let's see what this is. So, this is what some British people.
Refugees are welcome here.
Yes, please hit the like button.
Refugees are welcome here. No borders, no nation. Stop deportation. No borders, no nation. Stop deportation.
I guess I'll flip a coin.
No nation. Stop deportation.
Wow, these people are nuts, aren't they? I mean, oh, I had another. Look at that. So, oh wait. So I had 2 JJD 01104 for $1 in Rumble Rant, and then another one JJD 0104 for another $1 in a Rumble Rant. Thank you very much. You didn't really leave a comment. It's just kind of square. I don't know what that means exactly, but thank you. I didn't know that was there. And then we had yes. Turn off the noise, Jim. Okay. Hit Jim's clitoris and make sure the video is circulated. Yes, please hit the button. Please hit the little button that sticks out. No borders, no language, no culture. Yeah, I don't know what people are up to. But, thank you very much, though, Snorum. Hit the like button, folks. YouTube is getting strict about channel engagement. Yes, please hit the like button. Please leave a comment on videos. You know, after the video's over or whatever, if you just leave like a comment in the comment section, just say like whatever, any type of comment, say comment for anything. It really helps with the algorithm and stuff. You know, so does participation in the chat helps a lot too. I really appreciate it. Mm-hmm. Let me see. I don't know. I have to see if Jeremy's is let's see. Is it Geeks and Gamers? Or is it DJ Cobra? Yeah, so that's pretty crazy, right? Just people doing this crazy stuff. Mm-hmm. They should find out who's funding all these printed matching signs. Socialist Workers Party. So, like in the U.S., it's the RevCom, Revolutionary Communist Party. It's probably the same party. They're probably paying them. Yeah, it's probably the same people. Britons have been successfully slapped into hating themselves. Sounds like the same old tire source funded World Economic Forum NGO endorsed playbook being rolled out again. Same script, different city, race borders, flood nations, and call progress. Discussing this isn't compassion, it's orchestrated destruction, and they're all complicit. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Hmm. All right, one more story. I'm going to pull them up right now. Okay, maybe two stories. How much money would it take if you just stand there with a sign and half-ass chant, these people don't appear to be in the... I know there was a bunch that were paid in the U.S. They would leave at certain times. They would only work like 4 hours. They would get paid a certain amount of money. You know, but I don't know. Stephen Miller just dropped a bombshell in Hannity tonight, revealing the number of missing kids Democrats trafficked into America is not 320,000. It's 450,000.
Well, so here's another one for you, Sean. On top of all of that, we now believe the true number of missing children that Joe Biden trafficked into the country, the Democrats trafficked into the country, is 450,000, not 320, 450. The Democrats have committed crimes for which they can never be forgiven, Sean, and Donald Trump is cleaning it up. Donald Trump is cleaning it up right now.
Let me say it again. Stephen, they have blood on their hands. They'll have more blood on their hands. Every murder, every rape, every violent crime. And if there's ever one of these known terrorists, we don't know where they are, that they let into this country unvetted, if there's an attack on our homeland, they'll have a lot more blood on their hands. I hope and pray I'm wrong.
They will, Sean.
I don't think I am.
Well, so here's another one.
Yeah, it's so important. Statement, Stephen Miller, vital reporting. Those brave whistleblowers who brought this forward must now be brought back to help fix this horrific problem and help assist bringing these criminals to justice. Yes, Stephen Miller dropped a bombshell. That's right. RFK 2 weeks ago said the previous administration handed missing migrant children to random adults in empty lots packed with shipping containers, and no media outlet reported this or found out this paramount concern. Why aren't journalists interested in that story? Let's see.
And there were political reasons for that. They wanted to get the kids out of U.S. custody, so they were handing them off to anybody. They didn't require background checks. They didn't require identification even. I've watched horror stories of the same person picking up child after child after child, using different names and different addresses. One of the addresses was a strip club. One of the addresses was a parking lot. One of the addresses was an empty lot that was filled with shipping containers. And this character was getting all these kids. One person got 42 kids to one address. What we're doing now is DNA testing on every sponsor. We're doing personal identification. We're doing background checks, and we're doing income verification.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you,
Of course it's not a democracy. Of course the system is rigged. It's fake, because no matter who gets elected, you get the same foreign policy, you get the same economic policy, and the Epstein videos remain secret. So like that just shows you that our system has no effect on the actual system.
Wait, what are you talking about? I thought we could all sleep well at night now knowing that Epstein legitimately killed himself, right?
What was that?
Did that just come out?
It's just two guys that I really like. I mean, I love Bongino, but He's a friend of mine. But you weren't convinced by that?
No.
Why?
I mean, just I've dug into that, and it's just so spooky what's going on with that, and how nobody. I mean, how do you charge a guy with sex trafficking when there's no end users that have been charged? Who did he traffic to?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a great question.
It is a great question. Mm-hmm. Because most journalists are afraid the swamp is deep and powerful. The only way to drain it is with major manpower. Together we're stronger, power of the people. Yeah, where are the children? Where are they? Where are they? Why didn't JB release the files? Anyone? Is this true, Grok? It's true. Mm-hmm. One of the largest crimes ever perpetrated on humanity in America. Where are the kids? Who profited off bringing them here? Who authorized giving them to strangers? What strangers? Who in the Biden administration signed off on this? Were they working with cartels in coordination with the created app? Who approved these NGOs, and who are the paymasters? I could do this all day. We need to know. A lot of YouTubers were doing stories on this during the Biden term. The cartels are switching to trafficking. Didn't you watch the movie Treason on Rumble? Mm-hmm. The evil of human trafficking cannot be overstated. It's a modern-day slavery. By leaving our borders open and encouraging people to come here illegally, Biden enabled the largest human trafficking operation in modern history. We have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to eradicate human trafficking operations targeting the United States. Under the leadership of POTUS and Trump, and Secretary Noem, we are working together at every level of government. We can win this fight, and we will. Trump administration hunts down 13,000 migrant kids after Biden administration lost track of 320,000. Children are being saved. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. See? Yeah, right there. See the story? Biden enabled the terrible human trafficking operation. Sometimes a man's evil does not only consist of what he does, but also include what he allows to happen under his watch. That is quite true of Biden. No pardons or leniency for child sex trafficker. I mean, if I have to say Wuhan, fourth, whatever turtle, if she gives up names of 100 people that hurt children or underage people on an island, I think she gets a reduction. Yeah, 60,000 calls to NGOs went unanswered about problems with the kids. Yeah, I saw that. Trump administration hunts down 13,000 migrant kids after Biden administration lost track of 320,000. Children are being saved. The Trump administration has located and rescued more than 13,000 migrant kids. Let me see something. Post has learned. The tough on immigration administration has also collared hundreds of migrant sponsors who are accused of committing disturbing crimes and abusing children in their care. Yeah, all those missing kids in Chinese farmland. Yeah. Well, they found a bunch of kids that were missing on that marijuana farm. If you remember that Gavin Newsom's donor owned the farm. When they shot at them coming in, they found whatever it was, 14 or 15 underage kids working on the farm that were all unaccompanied minors. A frightening case, ICE agents in Newark arrested a sponsor who was found to be a Guatemalan fugitive wanted for 2 counts of aggravated homicide in his own country. He was busted May 13th. It's deplorable to imagine that a wanted fugitive would find shelter in the United States with a child in tow and later go on to sponsor another alien. A shocking report released in August found that the Biden-Harris administration lost track of more than 320,000 migrant children who crossed the U.S.-Mexican border. The unaccompanied migrants were released into the U.S. without future immigration court dates, meaning that there's no way to track their whereabouts, or if they failed to show up to court. Thousands of kids who also released sponsors who were poorly vetted, meaning the vulnerable minors were put at risk of sex trafficking, forced labor, and other forms of exploitation. Homeland Security Inspector General's report said. In February, President Trump's Department of Homeland Security, Health and Human Services announced it was launching an investigation into the troubling number of cases of unaccompanied migrant children who have ended up in the hands of sexual predators and human traffickers because of lax vetting processes. Yeah, last week slavery existed in California. You saw it, right? And they want to keep the slavery. Children are being saved. The Post effort, another sickening case, a 15-year-old girl was rescued in New York after an Ecuadorian man impregnated her and then had his mother sponsor her so they could live together. Homeland Security, Department of Homeland Security told the Post, the sicko, who was not named, has been in a relationship with the child since she was 13 and had impregnated her before she crossed the southern border unaccompanied. Her mom sponsored a teen in Harlem where the trio lived together. Homeland Security agents in New York arrested a child predator on May 28. HHS told the news the Trump administration ICE had arrested 422 sponsors accused of abusing the minors in their care or other crimes. By leaving the borders wide open and even encouraging people to come here illegally, Biden enabled the largest human trafficking operation in modern history. Secretary Nolan said in a statement to the Post, we have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to eradicate human trafficking. President Donald Trump, working together with every level of government, will win this fight. Child migrants who cross the border illegally without parents are apprehended by border agents and handed off to HHS, which helps them locate U.S. sponsors. Sponsors of migrant minors don't have to be family members. The rescued migrant children are often reunited with their families in their home countries or placed in HHS foster care. President Trump Borders are also recently detailed some of the upsetting cases involving kids on Miranda Devine's Pod Force One podcast. We rescued victims of child sex trafficking 2 weeks ago. We rescued a 14-year-old who was already pregnant living with adult men. We rescued some victims of forced labor. We found children working on ranches and chicken farms, not going to school, but enslaved labor in the United States of America. Some of the children we found perfectly fine with their families. They just didn't respond to call-ins because they didn't want to face the consequences of immigration court. Even after receiving briefings on the horrific cases involving migrant minors, the Biden administration took no meaningful steps to address the issue, according to Homeland Security Inspector General report. See, this guy right here, Kohlberger, I'm going to say it. This guy, look at that face. That guy's a serial killer. Look at that. He's got other people. They're going to find more bodies that he's tied to. I think this is going to be the last story. Trump tariff revenue could bring rebates for Americans, as he predicted. Remember, Trump said that. That's Mark Rubert. This guy says, we may send everyone rebate checks from tariff revenue. Imagine getting a check from the government not funded by debt or taxes, but tariffs on foreign companies. That's exactly what Trump just proposed. Here's what you need to know. We're thinking about doing a rebate. The U.S. is collecting a record tariff revenue, $150 billion so far this year, on pace for $300 billion or more by year end. Trump now says that there's extra cash after paying down debt, America should get a rebate. Yes, a Trump tariff dividend. Yeah, and listen, everybody, this is an invite to, we started up a Discord server, and if you want to go ahead, go over there and get to know people to talk more, and that way you can communicate with me or other people when the show's not on, and I'll be able, if you got questions or I show ideas or anything like that, who knows, how we're going to make it work. There is going to be an advanced section of the Discord that'll be for members, which will be a special place. There is a link for that in the member section. I'll have to fix it and make it go to the correct member site, but we'll get that going later. Right now, it's just look at that. Trump tariff 1, Trump tariff 2. We're getting a lot of good money. How much money is that? If a $300 billion is divided among 140 million U.S. households, every household could get $400 to $500. Paid for by China, countries abusing our trade system. It's very opposite of Biden's inflationary stimulus. Trump's 10% universal tariffs are part of a larger plan, reciprocal trade deals, debt reduction, reindustrialization, middle-class relief. He's already signed deals with UK, China, Japan, Vietnam, Indonesia, and Philippines. More is coming. But what about inflation? Tariffs haven't spiked prices. June inflation was just 2.7%, with core inflation stable. Goldman Sachs says any price bumps are temporary, and stimulus from foreign paid tariffs is very different than printing Biden bucks. Trump also looked to rebate Doge savings. He proposed sending Americans 20% of the money saved by cutting government waste and fraud. But the same calculation as above, if you can find this $1 trillion in cuts, that's another 1,400. But Trump says it could be 5,000. That's Maganomics at work. Trump isn't just reshaping trade; he's turning foreign exploitation to American prosperity. Tariffs to rebuild industry, rebates to reward citizens, surpluses to play down debt. It's bold and it's working. I don't know about all that. Here's Newsmax. Yeah, Trump tariff revenue could be rebates for Americans. Friday, the administration is considering using tariff revenue to provide rebates. Speaking with reporters, Trump was asked possibility of rebates for all the revenue coming in, tens of billions of dollars. We're thinking about it, actually. We've done so much money coming in. We're thinking about a little rebate. It'd be a great rebate. It'd be the best rebate ever. It'd be the biggest rebate, greatest rebate ever happened. We're thinking about a rebate. A few seconds later, a little rebate for people of a certain income level might be nice. According to data published, customs duties reached $64 billion in the second quarter and $47 billion more for the same period last year. Cool. Huh. You don't think that you need a happier story to end with? You don't think getting rebates from the government is a happy story? Let me look. Let me see if I got one other story. Hold on. Okay, Sunshine wants a better story. Let me look. I guess I could do one more story. Where is it? Where is my? There it is. Let's see. Okay. We have a story about the DEI debacle of Obama's presidential library. Tom Cotton wants the FBI to tell him everything about Jim Comey. The case against Obama. CNN creates ads to get illegals to self-deport. Ooh, this is a feel-good story. We'll do this one. Okay, real quick, we'll do this. Okie dokie, Smoley. So here we go. So I would say we have a 50-50 chance, maybe less, but a 50-50 chance of making a deal with the EU, Trump said. Don't forget Japan's putting up $550 billion. That's a lot of money. So we're going to do that. So here we go. We're going to go to this one. This is a good story. Lululemon Karen gets in the face of federal agents arresting an illegal immigrant at Home Depot in Encinitas, California. Let's see here. We got this. Let's see.
Don't fucking push me. You're taking him before I can take a phone number from him?
You need to stop.
You need to stop kidnapping people off the fucking street. 100%. You just break him away when I'm trying to call his family for him.
You need to stay
show
back
me your
from
arrest warrant then. Show me your arrest warrant.
I don't need to show you
Yeah, because you're a liar.
You're not an interested party. You have no right to see them.
Stop.
So,
you guys are kidnapping people off the fucking street.
We good?
Yep. Yeah, because what? Because someone came over to help them, you have to rush and get them in the fucking car?
Being obnoxious in the lady.
Not being obstructive. You're being obnoxious. This is 100%. 100%. You guys have no conscience. Yep. If you're doing something right, take your mask off then. Yeah, you're cowards. And unmarked cards.
Look at me.
I was trying to help them and you have to hurry up and get out of here. Fuck you. Are these more people in unmarked cars? Yep. Yeah, just trying to like run us over.
I would run you over. That's me. But if I was there, I would slap the shit out of you personally.
You're not a fucking coward. You're doing something.
Yeah, I would show you that, lady.
Get out of our fucking city. What the hell? Out. Go find a job that you can feel good about. No kidding. If you're proud of your job, take your fucking mask off. Seriously. It's disgusting.
These people are acting like this because of the rhetoric that the Democrat politicians in California are spewing. Karen Bass, Gavin Newsom, they're causing this. So when these people eventually do something dumb, like those two medical people did, and they put their hands on an agent or touch one of them, and then they go to prison for it, they only have the Democrats to blame. They have this other one too. This I saw was funny. Probably not the best way to help your husband. Bro was just having dinner. This is a funny story. This lady is acting crazy with the cops. All right, you gotta see this. This is nuts. We're gonna speed it up too because this is like pretty long. So.
Okay, absolutely. What are you doing?
Please go down to the river.
We are, but you can't be driving like that.
Please go down right now.
If you cause a crash, though,
I am telling
you're
you.
going to get yourself.
Dead in the river right now. You're going to all be dead. I have all the police here. I'm trying to get them to go to see if Peter's in the river.
We're trying. Give us a minute, okay? You can't be driving like that.
This is my husband's location right now. Okay?
It's not in the water.
He was in the middle of the water. You need to go down. Someone go down there right now. I will not get back in my car. I swear to God. I will stand right here. But go down there right now.
I'm going now.
Go right now. Go down there right now, please. Oh my God. God, this is a big deal, okay? Okay, guys, pull up.
No.
moving. Can you see? Right there. Now he's moving. Okay.
Okay.
This lady is tracking her husband. I think she thought her husband was cheating on her or something, and so she's trying to find him. He's down by the river.
I saw that. He said he was meeting with his coworker to try to get him to come and be a secretary. When I saw it in the middle of the river, I was really scared for him.
Yeah. He's meeting with someone to ask someone to be his secretary.
We're not taking anything away from this, but you cannot be running red lights.
Okay, I get
Because
it.
what if somebody hits you and you get into a really bad accident?
I get it. But if my husband's dead, I don't
Stop yelling.
Oh my God.
I understand you're upset. You do not need to cause a scene.
Where was he supposed to go?
Where was he supposed to go?
You motherfuckers. Fred.
Where's your license?
Because you're about to be
Fucking have
shamed.
my license on me, okay? Take me in, for God's sakes.
Okay.
Okay, see, that's part one. And here's part two. Ready?
Put your hands behind your back.
Oh, I forgot to speed. Oh, no. No. What are you doing? No. No. Go back. There we go. I wanted to speed it up.
You did not do that.
36, remember that female detective just hit me.
What is your problem? We're trying to help you.
You weren't listening to me.
You weren't talking. We told you to stop.
I
You
told
wouldn't
you
stop.
over there. I said, please go to the river.
What do you think he's doing? He's down there. He's looking.
You guys are the biggest assholes I've ever met in my life.
Sit down. We're looking for a male by the name of Peter Winovich. His, huh? I don't know. I don't think so. His wife is freaking out. Apparently his phone is pinging down here somewhere.
How are you?
Is everything okay?
Well, not exactly. Your wife is in custody right now. She was worried about you, so she was calling.
She's in custody?
Yes. She struck one of the officers while we were trying to look for you.
Oh my God. What happened?
We were trying to get some information out of her about where you were at because your phone was pinging in the river, so she thought you were in the river. So we were trying to find you.
Yeah, I was literally meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So she wasn't listening when we were trying to.
Is she okay?
She's okay, yeah. She's just in custody right now.
I literally just had a wonderful dinner. Okay,
Wonderful dinner he had with a woman, more than
Where's
likely.
she at?
She's in the patrol car. She's gonna be taken to the temporary holding facility here pretty soon and be booked.
So I think the woman thought her husband was cheating on her and freaked out and was trying to run and catch him, and then got pulled over and came up with the story. And the dude's like, I was just having a wonderful dinner. Like, yeah. So there's that. And then where are we at here? So, and then I got this other story here that I think is a good feel-good story to end on. So here we go. Closed border. CNN created a 3D model to help convince illegal aliens to self-deport to avoid being sent to Alligator Alcatraz. Left-wing media is working overtime to scare illegal alien community into getting out as soon as possible. Yeah, they should have Baker acted her, but once she started swinging at the cops, she's got to go. Let's see here.
This is sad, hopeless. It's a type of torture.
These are the stories of migrants held at Alligator Alcatraz, a new detention facility deep in the Florida Everglades. Using a plan of the site shown during President Trump's visit and photos from media tours and social media, CNN created a 3D model to take you inside the site, where hundreds of immigrant detainees are being held. Here are the giant tents where people report being crammed into cells made of chain link fence, packed with bunk beds. CNN spoke with 8 detainees to hear firsthand accounts of what conditions are like on the inside. Some asked not to be named for fear of retribution.
Because of the way that we have been treated, it has been a very terrible experience.
Gonzalo Almanza Valdez was detained by ICE when he showed up for a meeting with his probation officer.
32 people per cell, or per cage, really, because this is a cage. It's a metal cage strapped in with zip ties.
3 open toilets are shared by dozens of men who say there's no running water or sewage system. Roger Moreno, who has lived in the U.S. for more than 30 years, told CNN the rain makes it worse.
The toilets, when it rains, they overflow, and the cells we're in fill up with sewage.
Every time it does rain and storm, the toilets clog up.
Detainees told CNN the lights are kept on 24 hours a day.
We can't sleep. I have to personally put a rag on top of my head to So at least try to take it out because the lights are so bright. There's 24 LED lights in the roof, and it's like shining bright.
Juan Palma Martinez has lived in the U.S. for more than 20 years and was also.
Well, they have to keep the lights on to keep you guys from doing stuff to each other. That's how they can watch you.
I no longer know when it's daytime or when it's nighttime. I don't sleep. It's affecting me mentally and physically.
The tents aren't sealed. You can see cracks in this image. And at the height of the hot Florida summer, that means the insects are relentless.
Yesterday, the air conditioning went out. We had the whole morning without air conditioning.
Oh, the air conditioning went out.
They get in from all sides.
Multiple detainees say they don't get enough food, though they're served 3 meals a day, and that water is limited.
Scan our bracelets, we go into the food hall. The food is very terrible here. Very, very, very small portions. People are having a hard time living here because like they're starving. Probably like a quarter cup of rice.
We've eaten as late as 10 at night. The food at night is cold, too. There's never a hot meal.
Showers are located in a separate tent, and opportunities to shower there are scarce, according to the detainees we spoke with.
All the showers are connected to the same water source. There's barely any water pressure. So we have to like literally put ourselselves on the wall right next to the water drainage so like we can at least get hit with water.
They follow you when you're walking to the shower with your hands on your head, as if you were a prisoner.
You are a prisoner!
Very hot. They don't give you enough time. Mosquitoes are biting you in the shower. There are more mosquitoes than water.
The only line to the outside world are phones set up in the cells.
Nobody here has been able to see a loved one. Nobody has been able to see a lawyer here. Nobody has. It sucks. It sucks. There's no like physical contact.
It's called being in prison.
Other than these phone calls.
That's what prison is called. Yes.
He's 6. He's about to turn 7 in November.
Yeah. Surprise! You are a prisoner.
Republican and Democratic lawmakers recently toured the facility. According to one of them, they were not permitted to speak to the detainees. Then State Senator Blaise Ingoglia, a Republican, said the facility is in good order.
It's actually a very well-run facility. The idea that the detainees are in there and they're in squalid conditions is just not accurate.
But most distressing for detainees, they say, was that in multiple cases, they haven't appeared in any state or federal detention system since they were arrested. That means families have been unable to track them.
We're in the middle of the Everglades with constant reminder that we're locked up in a cage and anything can happen. A hurricane can hit us and we can all die and nobody would know.
Aaron, we received a statement from a
That's right. Go home now so you don't die in a hurricane.
Read that to you. It says, quote, as stated many times before, these claims are false. The facility is in good working order and detainees have access to drinking water, showers, and clean facilities for hygiene. And earlier today, we also heard from other Florida officials who say they plan on expanding the facility to include thousands more in this makeshift alligator Alcatraz. Aaron.
Awesome. Sounds great. As I said, feel-good story to end on. CNN interviews illegal immigrants detained at Alcatraz where they whine and complain about their living conditions despite the option to self-deport and return to their home countries. This is sad, hopeless. This is type of torture. It's a metal cage strapped in with like zip ties. The toilets, when it rains, it overflows. It causes a film of sewage. The food is terrible here. Very, very small portions. It's not a fucking hotel, man. It's not a 5-star hotel. People are having a hard time living there because they're like starving. They follow you when they're walking to the shower with your hands on their heads. It's like you're a prisoner. Yes, you are a prisoner. Yes, yes, yes. Oh well, I guess I have to change now because Cobra ended. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. The real issue isn't conditions. It's the refusal to acknowledge that every person at Alligator Alcatraz chose to violate sovereignty laws. These facilities exist because open borders incentivize chaos. Yeah, all the people that are at Alligator Alcatraz are all convicted criminals that are illegal aliens that Florida is holding. Detainees had the option to enter legally and use self-rotation app for orderly exit. It says they gambled on illegal entry and lost. Overflowing toilets. That's what happens when you cram thousands into emergency processing zones built to handle hundreds. Small food portions. Blame cartels flooding a zone, not enforcement. CNN's 3D model is theater. They won't show you the 8,000 plus who've already self-deported to avoid the consequences. Border security requires firmness, not coddling. If you break the law, you don't get to dictate 5-star accommodations while taxpayers foot the bill. That's right. All right, everybody. I want to thank everybody who was here. And, I want to thank everybody who was here. I wish everybody a great night. I want to say goodbye to everyone. And also, I want to thank everyone who's here and say thank you. I will see you all Sunday night. Hopefully I'll have some guests tomorrow night. I want to say thanks for the people who did donate, a couple people who donated on Rumble and on YouTube, and say, come on back Sunday night tonight for Jim to tell you the news or something along those lines. Something similar, something like that.